Welcome in, everybody, to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. Got a good show for you today, folks. A very interesting show today, and got a guest here that is going to answer a lot of questions you might have had about exactly how this whole drug game works and the undercover game. As I read a very interesting book over the weekend, I want to share it with you now. Our guest is John Madinger. He's a former undercover officer in the drug game. And he's worked in Hawaii. He's worked in Oklahoma, in the state of Oklahoma. And I'm going to give you a little bit of his details now. Some real facts about John. He spent most of his law enforcement career as a narcotics agent and in the U.S. Treasury Department, working on money laundering and narcotics cases. He still works for the Treasury and now providing technical assistance to law enforcement agencies overseas in the areas of financial crime, money laundering, and counterterrorism financing. So he's still very much active. He writes about some of these experiences on the blog page on his site, which we'll have a link to in the description of the show, as well as his other interest, the history of drugs and American law enforcement. In addition to Bosnia, he has had assignments in Malawi, Egypt, Panama, the Dominican Republic, Zambia, and Qatar, and projects in 21 other countries. John lives in Honolulu, Hawaii, which is a wonderful place to live if you've got the cash, I'll tell you that, when not traveling for the government. He's always happy to assist fellow writers, journalists, and other non-criminal types, or to provide technical advice to these subjects, and has done so for many major publications like Bloomberg and The New Yorker, television news sources including PBS and ABC News, as well as several television and motion picture productions that needed to know how to launder money. That's interesting to get into as well. He is on Facebook, detests Twitter. I don't blame him. There's a lot of trolls there, and is very active on, John, what is this? Quora? Quora. I've never been on that before.
Get all your questions answered.
There you go. Where he has 2,400 followers, and his answers to questions on everything from law enforcement to life and travel have almost 11 million views. Let's welcome to True Crime Tuesday, John Madinger. John, thank you so much for being with us here on the program today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure indeed. Man, oh man, I'll tell you. By the way, we should get the name of the book out here so that people know what exactly we are talking about. The book is Going Under: Kidnapping, Murder, and a Life Undercover. And again, we have a link to it here on the description of the program. And I'm going to recommend you guys go out and get that book right away. This book, John, first of all, talk about fascinating. There's a couple different threads that kind of sew through this book. One of them is a case that happens in Oklahoma and has to do with kind of a Hatfields and McCoys type case where two families are fighting over the fact that a boy in their family and a friend have decided that they've stumbled upon a barn full of marijuana that belongs to that family. And it turns out that they have 3 Mexican workers that are working in this barn, and they do some unspeakable things to those workers, don't they?
Yeah, it was a weird thing for me because I got called to go down to Choctaw County, which is about as far south as you can get in Oklahoma and still be in the state. Mm-hmm. It's right on the Red River with Texas. And I didn't do kidnapping investigations, but that was what they told me to go down there for. And I met this highway patrol trooper, Lieutenant Pat Grimes, who was also didn't do kidnapping investigations, but we were supposed to see if we could get this kid back, and that was the assignment. Was could we find this kid who'd been trying to rip off the other family's marijuana patch? Could we get him before they killed him? And so that was the investigation, and it lasted a few memorable days down in southeastern Oklahoma.
Now, this kid tried to hang the workers with nooses.
Well, he didn't. But when the family found out that he'd been kidnapped, that the other family had him, they went looking for him, and a bunch of them with guns went to the barn where these kids had apprehended by the other family, and they found the Mexican farm workers there, and basically tortured them for information about where the missing boy was. So it was a situation getting out of hand when we got there. They were already there'd been a confrontation the day before between the two families. They faced off right in the middle of a highway down in Fort Towson, and didn't shoot anybody, but it was getting to that point. And so that's why basically we were there at the time, to see if we could head off any further mayhem that was going on down there.
And meanwhile, you've got this delicate balancing act because there's a whole lot of marijuana sitting between both families. Both families grow the stuff out in the open. It's not like this is a secret.
Yeah, and it was actually worse than that, because not only were both families growing it, but one of them had been paying the county sheriff down there to sort of take care of their business for him, and then the other family sort of made the guy a better offer, I guess, and now the sheriff's working for them against the first family. So the local law enforcement down there wasn't our friend in this case, and we were pretty much on our own down there, and couldn't tell who the good guys were and couldn't tell who the bad guys. They were all bad guys, but it was a different situation.
And you're working for which agency at this point?
I was with the Bureau of Narcotics, Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics.
Okay.
So I was a state narcotics agent. The guy with me, Pat Grimes, was a lieutenant with the Highway Patrol, Oklahoma Highway Patrol.
Okay. So it's not like at this point you can reach back to the DEA and say, well, bring in the SWAT, bring in the soldiers. Let's descend on this place and get them both. It wasn't anything like that. You weren't getting that kind of help.
No, and we wanted to see if we could get the kid back without any further fuss. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was our main thing. Was, we didn't go in there thinking, okay, well, we'll just start raiding marijuana patches. This is going to be the two of us. There's only two of us there,
right?
So we didn't want to cause any more tension by looting these guys' marijuana patches. We just wanted to get the kid back. And that's what we tried to make everybody understand was, he comes home, we go home, you guys can go back to doing whatever it is you do. We weren't going to forget about all of this stuff. But it was right at the end of the season. They were harvesting their pot at the time. Most of it was in. And, we just worked it until we could get some progress on getting the kid back. That was our main concern.
And there's a lot of tension there. And I'm going to stop this line of questioning right here, John, because we're going to move on to some other things. And we'll come back to this in a little bit. But this story runs throughout the book, and it's incredibly tense because, like you mentioned, it's just you and Pat Grimes. It's just the two of you throughout the book trying to negotiate between two families and two well-armed families and a crooked cop and who's not, he's kind of in the background. You're not really negotiating with him much at all. But the fact of the matter is, it's just two guys out there trying to delicately balance a situation. Yet you've got these three Mexican farmers, these three Mexican gentlemen who you need to keep safe too. So you're managing to move them around from place to place.
Yeah. And you know what? One of the really hardest things about this was everybody was a moron. We're dealing with idiots here.
Yeah,
they kidnapped they took these Mexicans and lynched them, strung them up from a barn rafter, and were throwing questions at them, but none of them spoke Spanish and the Mexicans didn't speak English. So, that's the mentality we were dealing with at the time was, how do you talk to people like that and get them to reason with you,
Right.
At least we spoke English. I suppose they understood us, but it was a different deal.
Right, right. Where do you start your career? Is it in Hawaii?
No, I started with Oklahoma.
Okay, you started.
I was actually a sheriff's deputy for a little while in Indiana, and then I got the job with Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics in summer of 1976. So I'd been working there for about a year when I did this case.
Okay, there's an interesting passage in the book where you had mentioned that you were talking to a DEA agent who said, "Boy, I hope someday I get to go undercover," and that had shocked you because that doesn't happen these days. Why is that?
Back in the day, everybody worked undercover. If you worked narcotics, you most likely worked undercover at some point. And they were very ad hoc, very unplanned and unscripted, I want to say unsupervised because they were, but they weren't structured like they are today. And today they took all the fun out of it when they took away all that stuff. But today it's much more structured. The undercovers at all of the federal agencies and a lot of the state ones and stuff are carefully selected people that want to do that job and have the special training and very structured, highly structured operations. Now you don't just go undercover. It's one of these things where there's a lot of structure and supervision in the thing. It doesn't just happen the way it used to. So things have changed. Things have changed in a lot of areas in this thing.
Well, one of the things I get the impression of from reading the book is when, especially like in Oklahoma or even some of the operations in Hawaii, when you went in, a lot of times it would be you, one other person, maybe, to confront a dealer and an informant who had brought you to that dealer, and maybe one other person. You didn't like to have more than two people in the room because you wanted even odds. But then you might have a couple of other officers outside. How many people would you generally have with you on a bust when you'd go to do a drug bust?
Well, it depended. If you were just going to buy drugs from the people and walk, we called it a buy walk. I might be by myself. I went out on deals by myself completely. I didn't have any backup at all. Sometimes I usually had my partner, somebody with me backing me up outside. If we were going to bust the guy on a buy bust where we were going to buy the drugs and then take him off on the spot, then there'd usually be like 5 or 6 other people there because they have to come in when you give them the signal. And the signal's on usually we had a transmitter which almost never worked perfectly. And we would give the signal and then the bus people would come in and do the bus.
Wow. So not a lot. I mean, because you don't know who's there or who may be hiding. I mean, there's some examples in the book of what's a good way of putting it? I mean, you put there's a couple of different terms you use. I don't know what term you would use for just a simple ambush, but you use the term straight rip, which means that they're simply going to roll you for your money and kill you. That's just there's no intention of a buy there whatsoever. But what would the term be if they were going to say they had the best intentions of selling to you, but they're also prepared to rough you up if you are a narc?
Well, that would be a burn. If you get burned and they find out that you're the cops, that would be what we called it, getting burned. And that happened to me a few times, more than once. And I mean, you just got to try and talk your way out of it. And I did. I mean, there were times when guys said, you're a cop, and I was able to talk them out of it. No, I'm not, So I was able to talk my way out of it. That's what an undercover was supposed to do, was talk their way out you talk your way in and you talk your way out.
Yep.
And the problem with a straight rip is that they're not interested in that. They don't want to hear what your issues are, or anything else. They've just decided, hey, we're going to take this guy's money and straight up rip him off. And then they do that because they think, well, there's another dope dealer. Nobody's going to miss him. And certainly not going to complain if we decide to let him live. He's going to go and eat it or come back at us, one or the other. So we better kill him, make sure that doesn't happen. Jeez. And that's what happens, And like I say in the book a couple of times there, I mentioned people that got shot or killed in those situations, people I knew.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry that you've lost comrades and friends that way. I think a lot of that isn't taken into consideration when we think of people on the front lines, and police officers and agents and people out there in the street that are doing the service of the public every day. We don't think that there's truly evil like that on the street. People that'll just take a life just for a couple of bucks.
Well, and there's people that'll take life for no reason at all. And I talk about a couple of those guys in the book too, Lancaster and Dennis. Yeah. Those guys, there wasn't any money in it at all for them. They just wanted to kill cops. So, and they did.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I mean, no matter how often you read it, and I read a lot of stuff as the host of the show, a lot of books in 1 year. It never ceases to shock when you read something like that someone will just do it just to do it, that there's just no conscience there. They'll take a life.
These guys went on a spree killing, and they're not even sure today how many people those guys actually killed. They think it was a total of 11, but they're not sure because they were all over the place, southern Oklahoma and northern Texas and as far away as Alabama, killing people. And just because they wanted to and they could.
My God.
Real sad.
Very sad indeed. So, there's some examples from the book here, which are kind of interesting. Not only do you have interesting examples of just dealing with some of these dealers and scenarios where you're really in jams and you have to talk your way out of them or get your way out of them. In fact, you know what? I want you to tell me about one in particular. The one I'm thinking of, you've got a character by the name of Jimmy Birdsong that you worked with. In, I believe it was Oklahoma, right? He was in Oklahoma.
Yeah, he was Oklahoma. Great guy.
Yeah.
Good agent.
And he had a penchant for wanting to prank you, but you tended to cut him off at the pass quite a bit, which I found particularly funny. He tried to find the humor in every situation and usually did. And you just had to be careful around him when he was with his propositions, because a lot of them were set up to prank you. And I only dodged the bullet from him. Well, I dodged one bullet, literally, almost. But I just got lucky, got lucky, and he tried stuff that I'd already seen. So it was like, beat you on those, but he got me with the last one. So yeah, there's he also seemed to have a streak in the middle of operations that was a little dangerous too, didn't he? He had he loved to throw up puns when he was about to arrest a perp. He had that sense of humor, kind of that dry wit, but he would throw out that line, like at the end, that gotcha line, that you're kind of like, did you really have to do that? Is that the line you really needed?
Yeah. I think the one you're thinking about is one where we busted the guys or we were getting ready to buy the methamphetamine off these guys. And he says, the guy gives us the price and Jimmy says, well, we don't have that much cash with us right now, but do you take gold? And the guy's looking like, what do you mean? Well, yeah, I guess. He goes, because we brought some of that with us, and he gives him his badge, which is gold, right? And course, we're not going to give him the cash because it's by bus. We're not going to give him the cash.
Right.
And the guy he hands him the wallet, and he looks inside the wallet. Oh, it's closed. And he looks inside big enough to see the badge, and he like stares up at us like, what? Yeah, you're busted, dude. So.
Yeah, Jimmy was a character, and we are going to talk about that particular bust at the end of the show, because that's got a particularly chilling ending to it that I don't think anybody would want to face.
Now, it was funny for a minute, but it got a little worse after that.
Yeah. There's tell me a little bit about there's a story with a German Shepherd in a bust with you and Jimmy. Can you tell me that story, John?
Well, we went into this house, and I didn't like doing deals at people's houses because I never really had that much control over who was there, or didn't even maybe know who was there. So I tried to avoid that, but couldn't on this time. So I took somebody else with me, took Jimmy with me, and he had a dog, and it was like a German Shepherd mix. And I was pretty friendly with the dog. I'd been there before, and the dog knew me and was pretty friendly, and got along okay with him. And then busted the guy in the back bedroom, and I said, I'll go out and there was two other guys there. One of them was the informant. And I went out there and had my gun out and told them they're under arrest, got him down on the ground. And I was trying to search this guy, and then I hear this dog behind me, and he's growling, and I turn around, and he's like getting ready to take a big chunk out of me. And I'm trying to talk the dog into, remember, we're buddies, we're friends. And no, he's not having any of that. And I tried telling the guy on the floor that I'm trying to search. I said, hey, call off your dog. He goes, ain't my dog. Okay, it's all me. And Jimmy comes in the room, and he's got the crook in one hand, and he goes, what are you doing playing with the dog? And I said, I'm not playing with the dog. He's going to eat me. He's like, big teeth, dog, bad.
Yeah.
And he grabs the dog by the collar and lifts him up. And Jimmy was 6'6" and over 300 pounds. He was a big guy and strong. And he lifts his dog up, and he says, well, we don't want any disasters in here, because he was going to bite my ass. And we don't need any disasters in here. I'll just put him in the bedroom. And he got rid of the dog. But that was why I said in the book, I go, well, a lot of people have gotten me out of jams before, but nobody's ever saved my ass before except Jimmy.
So Jimmy just straight lifts the dog up, takes him to the bedroom like it's nothing.
80 pounds of dog, and the dog was still, wriggling around and shaking and doing. He stopped growling though, so that was nice.
Well, I suppose Jimmy showed dominance.
That's right. Yeah.
That's one way to do it, I guess.
That's right.
I don't know where you have the cojones just to walk up to a German Shepherd, grab him by the collar, and just take him into the other room.
Well, I couldn't do it. And
no,
I had a gun out. I could have shot him, but I like dogs. I wouldn't shoot a dog if I didn't have to, and I was trying to talk my way out of it, which is what undercovers do. And the dog wasn't having any of it. Yeah. So Jimmy took this situation in hand, took care of it.
I guess that's
there's all kinds of hazards undercover, and you gotta deal with them as they come.
That's right. I tell you what, John, let's take our break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the war on drugs. A lot of people think the war on drugs started with Nancy Reagan when she stood at that podium and declared that we were on a full war on drugs. But your time in Oklahoma really started in the mid to late 70s. And at that point, we're in full-blown war as far as marijuana goes. And you were burning tons of marijuana at that point, and you were going after tons of marijuana at that point. You were dealing with meth at that point, which, I always thought meth was a 90s issue. I never thought meth was around in the mid to late 70s.
No, it was big. It was big back then. Biker meth, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got an education reading this book. So when we come back, we'll talk with John about when exactly this huge escalation happened with marijuana, why the government was on top of marijuana so huge. And we'll also talk about a drug lord who was trying to get his way in Oklahoma and actually ran into the narcotics division there in Oklahoma. And we'll talk about what it's like to have a fire on the side of a highway and why you should never buy marijuana in a paper bag. That'll come up.
Okay.
That'll come up in just a bit here. You're listening to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. The book is Going Under, Kidnapping, Murder, and a Life Undercover. We've got a link to it in the description of this show. Our guest is John Madinger, former narcotics undercover officer, and now he's doing other things. You're working with the Treasury Department now, correct, John?
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. And we're talking a little bit about, before the break, we were mentioning when this war on drugs exactly happened, because, you know, as a kid, I remember Nancy Reagan standing there, and I remember going through the different classes in school, talking about DARE and other things. And, you know, thinking in the 80s that that was when the war on drugs started. But you, my friend, started in the mid to late 70s there in the Narcotics Bureau in Oklahoma. And you were going heavy after tons and tons and bales of marijuana. Tell me a little bit about, there's one story I'm thinking of in particular having to do with a Colombian drug lord. And was it Jimmy Birdsong that got the initial arrest with the C-4 plane?
Yeah, that was Jimmy's big case. Was in December of '76, they seized a DC-4 coming up from Colombia with 17,000 pounds of weed on it, and that was his investigation. That was run by a group out of El Paso, the Shagger brothers from El Paso, that were running this load in. They seized the plane, and they seized another plane too, a Cessna that was with it. And it was a good bust. It didn't work out in the end, but it was at the time, it might have been the biggest marijuana case in American history up to that point. Wow. Now, after that, of course, we've seized way more than that. They're way bigger cases than ours, but that was a big one at the time.
So tell me, John, before we go further into the story, why the emphasis on marijuana at this time? Why chase after grass, weed? I think at the time there was, you had in the late 60s, you had blue magic, you had the heroin craze, and in the, you had cocaine, in the disco era. Why was it marijuana was such a big thing?
Well, it was because everybody was using it at the time. That was the drug of choice for the illegal people that were wanting to abuse drugs illegally. That was the main one. I didn't spend that much time myself working marijuana cases. It was pretty unusual, really. Most of my undercover stuff was for heroin and coke, a lot of methamphetamine too from the bikers, mm-hmm. and quite a few pharmaceutical drugs, prescription drugs, but there was a lot of marijuana being grown, especially in southeastern Oklahoma. Those people had been involved in bootlegging, moonshining previously. In the 70s, the price of sugar went way up, and a lot of the people that were moonshining turned to marijuana, especially down southeastern Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And that's where our one case took place. In fact, Jimmy's airplane came into southern Oklahoma too. And I had to talk about another case it's part of that
sure.
part of Jimmy's case,
Yep.
where I bought a pound of weed in a paper sack, and that was part of that deal.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about that, because now at one point you had all this marijuana that was on the plane, and they said, well, it's good enough just to take pictures and just kind of have the, rather than have the evidence laying around in case we need to further prosecute anybody related to the drug lord. And he was quite the player in Vegas, but eventually things started falling apart with him. And again, there's more in the book, folks, about it's a very interesting case, because was it his cousin or brother who was his lawyer?
His brother.
His brother, right.
Yeah. There were three brothers, Jimmy Chagra, Joseph Chagra, and Lee Chagra. And Lee and Joseph were both attorneys. Lee was a high-powered drug cases, a lot of drug cases down in El Paso, did a lot of business down there. And eventually he got killed in a drug-related homicide himself. The other ones went to prison for long, long times for their activities. But my case was came about because we had seized the 17,000 pounds of weed, and I was actually on vacation when that happened, so I wasn't here. But I got to see this stuff later when we were getting ready to destroy it, and we had stored it all in a ammunition bunker down at McAllister Naval Ammunition Depot down in southeastern Oklahoma, and we had kept it there long enough for the trial to happen. Once that was over, then the prosecutor said, well, you can get rid of it. They still needed some evidence from it because the people in Texas were getting ready to do the Chagra brothers, and they needed that as part of their case. But we could destroy the rest of it, which we did, and we messed it up just as bad as we possibly could. I mean, we screwed that thing up every which way we could, trying to burn it, trying to get rid of it. Yeah, it was a mess, but we took it out for destruction to a place in Pittsburgh County. I have no idea where it was. I was lost, but we took it out there and tried to burn it, and we burned it with dumping it into a ditch.
Okay.
And they had a truck full of diesel there, and they pumped the diesel onto it and light it off, and we were busting the bales up. And we had a bunch of maybe 3 or 4 trustees from the McAllister Pittsburgh County Jail, and they were busting it up. This was the best prison work detail of all time.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Was busting up these bales. And we repeatedly had to go down there and grab them out of the smoke and bring them back out. And it wasn't an hour, maybe an hour later, it was we got to get rid of these guys because they're going to fall in the fire, and they're completely unconscious at this point, having the greatest time of their life. And so we got rid of those guys, and then it took 2 days to burn it all, and then that ditch turned out to be a dry stream bed. So all the seeds that didn't get burned up, which anybody that uses marijuana knows the seeds usually don't get burned up,
Yep.
And so all those seeds, when the rains came, they all went downhill or downstream, and 1,000 marijuana plants bloomed.
Oh no.
Yeah. And then that's when I was maybe a few months later, I was buying this bag of marijuana, and it was why is this thing so cheap? And the informant says, well, it's supposed to be contaminated. And I go, well, okay, we got to do something about that, because at the time the United States was just getting ready to do the war on drugs, and we were giving Mexico tons and tons of this paraquat weed killer, and they were spraying it down in Mexico on the poppy and marijuana fields.
Okay.
And so if the dealer knew that it was contaminated and was still selling it, likely it was paraquat, and that isn't good. We need to get that off the street if we can.
Right.
And so I bought this. That's why I bought this pound of weed, and get it back to the office, and this thing smells an awful lot like diesel. And so we're like, okay, well, we can't go to the top of the ladder on this thing because we're at the top. It came from our ditch in McAllister. So yeah, it was kind of a bad deal.
So he was just going over to that little area where you guys were setting it on fire, scooping it up in a paper bag. And the way you put it in the book was the reason you put it in the paper bag was that it kept the diesel smell down.
Right.
That's, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, it was. He said, "Well, I can get 50 or 60 pounds," and I'm going, "I'm sure you can."
Yeah.
Started out with 17,000, and apparently not all of it got burned up. So
incredible.
There you go.
Incredible. That's something else. I'll tell you. It's when you're. I got to ask you, John. I know it kind of moves on from there. In the book, but do you at that point go, well, do we need to go out and do a better burn job, or do you just go, you know what, we're just going to let it go from there?
Well, I don't know. I reported it. Mm-hmm. We couldn't. The guy who was buying it off of wasn't one of the trustees, but he'd obviously been locked up with him and had heard all about it. And he probably wasn't the only one to go down to the ditch and get it out of there. And I told the bosses, well, you have to do something about this and figure it out. Not my case, not my problem, but you guys, you got to work it out. And I don't know what they did. I don't know if they went down and bulldozed it or dug it all up or whatever, but somebody was taking advantage of our error. Yeah. Now, what they at the time, in fairness to Jimmy and the OBN guys that did this, nobody had any experience. Like you were saying, the big war hadn't started yet, and nobody had any experience disposing of that much pot. Right. So it was it was an unusual situation and new for us. We'd never had anything like that, and since then, of course, they've gotten much better at it. When I was working in Hawaii, we disposed everything in the municipal incinerator. Okay. So it all got burned up there.
Because I know these days on the news you see, and I mean, I know you're saying municipal incinerator. That's probably the smartest way to do it. But you still see news outlets that will show, they burned, they had a huge bust today, and you'll see them out in the middle of a field. And of course, they're doing it exactly like you describe it in the book. But of course, it's nowhere near the amount of tonnage you're talking about. It's probably, it's a much smaller score, and they're out in the middle of a field and they're burning it. And they're, of course, there's the joke. Well, the smoke might go into the city later today, Catherine. Ha 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 ha. Or they'll tell some sort of weird joke at the end of it. But is that still done by smaller law enforcement agencies? Is that the way that they dispose of it, is to burn it out in the field?
Well, if it's in the field, usually we didn't in Hawaii. We pulled it. They pulled it and ferried it out by helicopter. And if it was in the field and took it someplace where it could be destroyed, they weren't trying to make cases on anybody, so they didn't need to save it as evidence or anything like that. They're just eradicating. Yeah. I don't know how Oklahoma did it. After I left, the DEA and Customs and Coast Guard, they're seizing orders of magnitude larger amounts than we had. And my understanding is they take those, some of them down in Florida, they're putting them in power plants, putting them in burning them in power plant. It burns really hot. It's actually a pretty good fuel source. Yeah. So.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here on you, John. And again, John Madinger is our guest. The name of the book, which you're going to want to go out and get right now, we have a link in the description of the show, is Going Under, Kidnapping, Murder in a Life Undercover. And it's put out by Wild Blue Press, wildbluepress.com. Want to switch gears a little bit. One of your, I don't want to say it's more mundane tasks that you did, but it is an important task nonetheless. People were forging prescriptions. and that was part of your duties as well, was to bust people who were forging prescriptions. Now, nowadays, it's much harder to do. And this is one of the things that I really wanted to bring up with you and talk with you about, because I myself am a chronic pain patient. And as I'm reading this book, I'm absolutely astonished. And yet I know, as it is recent history, that they've changed up the way that they handle prescription medication and prescription pain medication. It used to be that you would get a paper script, you would take it to your pharmacist. You had to have a control number on it, of course, from the pharmacist. They still will do that on occasion. I have got a paper script from a doctor when I've needed a medication immediately and they've had communication problems between systems. But it's rare. It's very rare. Most communication is done, electronically between provider and pharmacist. To eliminate that, anyone can put human hands on a pad and paper and forge a quantity amount on a medication. But to sit and read the book and see just how people would try to forge, and if people don't understand in our audience what the big deal is, it's this. And I'll recap for people just briefly here, John, to save you a little headache here. Let's say I'm the criminal here, or I'm the one with the prescription, and I've got a pad, or I happen to swipe a pad from, or not even swipe a pad, I just have a prescription and I'm in pain. And I've got a prescription for MS-Contin or morphine. And I decide that I've got 6 pills and I want to extend it to 60. And I just happen to fill in TY instead of 6. I get 60. Well, I can try and get that past my pharmacist. Well, all of a sudden I've got a lot more pills I can try to turn around and sell on the street and make myself some money. And that's what a lot of people who try to do this do with it. They sell it, turn around and sell it on the street. They're not really using it for what it's meant to be used for, which is to alleviate pain, essentially. Correct, John?
Right. And that was a real common thing before the whole system got computerized. And nowadays, like you say, most of the prescriptions are issued electronically and they go straight to the pharmacy, and there's no opportunity for somebody to do the alteration or the forgery. But at the time, back in the day, and I'm sure there's people still trying to do it, figure a way out to do it. But back in the day, it was a pretty common thing. And like you say, some of those medications, some of the really stronger narcotics, Dilaudid and oxycodone, those things, you could sell those. Some of those pills could go for as much as $20 a piece. So a big script, if you could alter it, you could make a couple $1,000s off of it.
Right.
I did buy a lot of prescription drugs undercover from people that had forged prescriptions or gotten prescriptions under some kind of false pretenses from the doctor. So it happened quite a bit. It was pretty common kind of case to make.
There are both some humorous stories in the book about, there's one in particular about a woman in a hover round who... try to forget that one as much as possible, yeah. That was kind of clutching the pearls and trying to make a getaway. It seemed like that was more just an addiction case where she was trying to, was more addicted to the medication and was trying to get her fix. And then you had a case in the book that had more to do with a prescription drug ring. And I want you to talk a little bit about Becky for a moment. I believe her name was Becky.
Yeah.
Tell me about Becky and her case, if you would.
She was a real artist. And most of the people that do this, they just look at like you say, they look at the prescription, they see 6, they want 60, so they can figure, well, I'll just change one, little word, and I get the stuff that I want. Now, a lot of the pharmacists know that. I mean, they know that this kind of thing happens. So they'll call and check with the doctor and find out that this is not a valid prescription anymore. And that's when we got the call. And Becky, though, she really researched this thing out. She did a really good job. She was more of a confidence artist than anything else. And she gave herself a really exotic kind of cancer, and she researched the disease to know what kind of medications would be prescribed for that, in addition to the pain medication. And they were really expensive cancer drugs. I don't know if they were experimental or whatever, but most pharmacies didn't carry those medications. Only the hospital pharmacy did. Mm-hmm. And so she took that prescription to the hospital pharmacy and said, I don't want to pick these drugs up. And they said, well, it's really expensive. And she said, well, I don't have that much money. And so they talked about it for a little while. Meanwhile, the doctor's office is closing. She went right at closing time. So now they haven't got any way, even if they want to call and check with the doctor. But she made sure they didn't. And ultimately, she wound up saying, well, I'll get the money for the expensive stuff. The narcotics, which was Dilaudid, really real powerful. It's like 4 times more powerful than morphine and valuable on the street. Yep. Didn't cost very much at all because it's been out of patent for 70 years. Mm-hmm. And so she said, well, I can pay for the Dilaudid now. So he gives her that. I think it was 120 Dilaudid. It was a lot of dough. And boom, she disappears. And the next day, the pharmacist is like, well, where is she? And I'll call the doctor and make sure that, I can fill half an order or whatever she can afford. And the doctor goes, well, we don't know her. And so that when they called us, the funny thing about her was I started to do the lineup because I have to show the original pharmacist that she contacted. I have to show him the lineup and make sure that's really her. Mm-hmm. And the doctors had identified somebody they thought she was. So I got her photo, and she was on probation at the time. And I went down to the robbery detail at Honolulu Police Department, which is where we got all our mug photos to do the lineup, 6-pack lineup. And the detective down there is going like, what are you doing looking for Becky? And I go, forged prescription case. And I go, why? You know her? And he goes, yeah, we're out looking for her right now for robbery. No. And I go, bank robbery. And I go, really? And he goes, yeah, she went into a bank in Honolulu, savings and loan actually, and lays the note down on the thing, demand note for her money. And then she forgets to pick it up when she leaves with the cash, and which is a bad idea. You shouldn't do that, right? You leave kind of evidence laying around, right? Yeah. And she had written the note on the back of her appointment reminder for her next visit with her probation officer. Oh. So it was like, this is not going to be a hard case to resolve. Right. And it wasn't. They found her the next day, and I'm like, I'll just wait. You guys can deal with it. I'll wait and hold my charges for when you're done. But she was that was a really sophisticated prescription scheme. And I can't really figure out why the bank robbery scheme was so messed up. Maybe she was just got like happy on Dilaudid and figured, I'll just go rob a bank today. But it was none of the planning or none of the organizational skill that went into the forged prescription deal.
You're right. She might have been in her cup, so to speak, with the Dilaudid. Yeah. And maybe it just makes you do dumb things, like I think that's what the beer, like beer on a Saturday night, Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Becky was having her fun time on Dilaudid and just reached for the first piece of paper to write a note, and it just so happened to be the parole officer notice.
Yeah, parole officer.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. That brings me to it kind of back to the subject that I was about to launch into, which is the differences between yesterday and today. And it's interesting when we reference the book, which is going under Kidnapping, Murder, and a Life Undercover. and the differences between the 70s and 80s and today, and how much things have changed, yet they haven't. We find ourselves kind of starting to put the controls on different things, yet taking the controls off. The more we put more controls on, the more we're trying to take the cap off. And I got to ask you some different questions here, John, because I'm curious, from a man who has literally put his life on the line countless times for different things, I got to think that this world in 2022 looks so strange to you. From burning thousands of tons of marijuana to a society where, it's everywhere and it's legal and it's used for medicinal purposes and it's used for casual purposes in some states. Tell me just briefly, what is your impression of, let's just start with cannabis, legal cannabis. How do you look at it? It's almost cost you your life. How do you approach legal cannabis?
Well, it was a real shock for me coming back from Hawaii, where it's still only recently they passed medical marijuana, and recreational marijuana is still prohibited there. To come to Oklahoma, where medical marijuana is it seems like it's the biggest industry in the state. There's a medical marijuana cannabis outlet on practically every street corner in Oklahoma City now. Mm-hmm. And so for me, who was, I bought a fair bit of marijuana undercover. I was risking my life to do it. It feels weird now to see it treated like, I'm not against it, mm-hmm. but it's different. It sure is different.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it's going with this. I like to think that we're going to make sensible decisions about our war on drugs and our approach to recreational drugs. We haven't had a very good track record of being sensible about that, but I'd like to think that we're going to look at the situation now and go in the direction of more liberal policies, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting because before the weekend, President Biden came out, and actually the story came out saying that President Biden was now considering legalizing cannabis nationwide, which the story has always been that President Biden would not consider it because of the issues that he had had within his own family with drug abuse, and that it was never an issue that would cross his table and something that he would never consider legalizing. And it was a personal choice for him, not necessarily a policy choice that he would consider for the American people. Now that's changed, and whether you want to believe it's and again, we don't normally talk politics on the show, but whether you believe it's a political issue or a personal issue for him, either way, he's now, I think, taking a fresh look at it with fresh eyes. I find it interesting when you put this in front of a law enforcement officer, what the reaction is, because you've followed the orders that have been put in front of you. And you've gone at it with all of your being, and now you're being told, well, you know what, we might go a different direction here. And what is the feeling of your being when you go, whoa, I gotta stop and do a 180 here? Does it feel alien to you almost?
It feels different. You can't work this job for any amount of time before you come to the conclusion that we're not doing it right. If our goal is to get people to take less drugs and do less harm to themselves by taking drugs, then the method that we've been using up to this point isn't working. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's reasonable for us as a society to sit down and say, look, what we've tried for 50, 60, 70 years, 100 really, is isn't working. Can we try something else? And I think it's most Americans aren't aware that there was a time in this country when drugs were, including marijuana, was totally legal. You could use as much of it as you wanted. You could buy it at any age. You could do opium or heroin or morphine or cocaine or whatever without any. It was in patent medicines and proprietary medicines, and you could do it as much as you wanted, whenever you wanted. Mm-hmm. And we had a drug problem. I mean, there were people that were addicted. A lot of white middle-aged women were addicted to opium products back in the day. People were smoking opium in Chinatown and wherever, and we had a problem with it. And our response was, let's ban it. Let's prohibit it. Let's move into some regime where we're not going to allow it at all. Possession, sale, whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's the one that we've been in this whole time. The question I would have is, well, were we better off under the old system, under legal where drugs were legal, or were we better off when they were only available on prescription, which was also true in the United States for a short time. Doctors could prescribe heroin. Doctors could prescribe cocaine, and they didn't have to have any kind of medical reason for wanting it. Just wanted it. And are we better off with that situation than we had then, or are we better off with the controls that we have now? And I kind of hope that our politicians are looking at it and saying, well, maybe there's a different way, a better way. So we'll see how it works out.
It almost sounds weird to say you can use it, but use it with supervision. But does supervision take away? And I'm asking you this as a law enforcement official who's been undercover and has seen the other side of things for quite some time. Does supervision take away in education, supervision and education, we'll put those both in there. Does it take away the potential for overdose?
Well, it wouldn't in a case like marijuana. It wouldn't, obviously.
Right,
it'd be almost impossible to OD on marijuana. With
the exception of marijuana. I'm talking harder drugs like cocaine, heroin.
Harder drugs.
Yeah.
You're taking out the uncertainty factor when you place it under that kind of legal structure. You're taking out that uncertainty factor. What am I getting when I buy this substance, this white powder? What am I buying when I buy this pill? You don't know now. You can't be sure now what you're getting when you make that purchase. And so that's really the benefit to this, is that if I go to the doctor and he gives me a prescription for morphine, and I take that to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy gives me a bottle of pills, I can be 100% sure that I'm getting 5 milligram morphine pills or 10 milligram oxycodone or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I can't do that now. I can't do that under this system. The uncertainty is baked in. And especially with fentanyl, the fentanyl situation now, your chances of getting something really, really bad and some reaction that you're going to have to this unknown substance that you just paid money for, those chances are really good. And your chances are not good, because sooner or later it's going to catch up with you. So I think that the whole system is probably in the midst of changing. We just don't realize it yet. How it's going to change, I think it will. And I think the legalization of marijuana, first for medicinal use and then for recreational use, is probably just the beginning.
It's just a catalyst. You bring up an interesting point. I think this is something you and I talked about off air. One of the most beloved people here in Minneapolis, that's Prince, died of a fentanyl overdose, not knowing that that's what he was getting. Prince had an issue with chronic pain, and he was taking I believe it was Vicodin and Percocet, left and right, trying to get some sort of, he was doctor shopping as well. I think that's well known, trying to get relief from a hip and knee injury that he would not get treated for religious reasons. But it was one of his entourage who went out and went to get extra pills for him, not knowing that they were laced with fentanyl. And you bring up an interesting point. Like I said, it seems like the more we advance, and this is kind of a theme we're getting in the second half of the program here, the more we advance and take the cap off of things, the more we get more controls. It seems like drug dealers out there have taken the cap off a little bit here and introduced fentanyl and to make a stronger product, to get a better high, to get a bigger pop, so to speak, for their clients. They're mixing again. It used to be it was angel dust or PCP in weed, to give a better experience or better high. That was the deal back in the 70s and 80s. Now you've got, it's less of an innocent high now. It's a deadly high, with the fentanyl in the pills.
And it's not always going to work out having a medical professional be the dispenser, because I talk about this in my book. I have a whole chapter basically on Elvis Presley. Mm-hmm. And there's no doubt in my mind that the narcotics killed him. And I saw that as being a gross, a good example of gross overprescription by a medical doctor. And the guy basically lost his license because of that.
Right. Dr. Nick, right?
Dr. Nick. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's not completely a free pass on, having the medical people be in charge of the distribution, because they could still, like you say, they could still doctor shop and they could still get it from other sources, and bad things could still happen. But I think you take a lot of the uncertainty. Elvis knew exactly what he was getting. Mm-hmm. All of those pills that he was getting, he knew exactly what he was getting. He was just getting a ton of it. And I say in the book, I don't throw that word around loosely. I think he did get a ton of it. And it was clear to me that there was a problem with the doctor, and the state of Tennessee agreed, DEA too, that do something about this guy. But I think that model of control, that is at least a viable alternative to what we're doing now. We're never going to stop fentanyl. Never, not a chance in hell of stopping that stuff. Now, there's 400,000 chemical companies in China, operating in China, manufacturing chemicals. 400,000. There's no way that you're going to stop one of those, 10 of those, 100, 1,000 from manufacturing something that is 100 times more powerful than morphine. There's just no way.
And I don't ever want to defend something that people would look at as the villain, but when my grandmother was alive and she had such incredibly bad intractable pain, and I'll tell you, John, when you looked at her MRI of her back, it looked like the picture of an old wizard. I mean, you couldn't see a spine there. It was that scary. But in order for her to be comfortable at the end of her life, they would put fentanyl patches on her back. They had to actually dial it back because they discovered that they were giving her too much at one point. But this was a minute amount of fentanyl compared to what you're getting in the pills on the street. But what they do in order to get the fentanyl for these pills is they get a bunch of those patches. They squeeze the fentanyl out of those patches and essentially give you 100 times more than what you'd get, from just one of these little patches that's supposed to be helping you. And that's like, we're talking like, street chemistry here. And that's why it's almost impossible for people who are in intractable pain to get fentanyl patches anymore. They're not heard of anymore. You can't get them. They're incredibly controlled.
Yeah, it's really scary, and I can scare you even worse in that fentanyl is what they call an opioid. It's manufactured from chemicals. It's not like heroin, which is a semi-synthetic, which is derived basically from opium poppies, plant source. So fentanyl is produced strictly from chemicals, organic chemicals, and not anybody can do the process. It takes a little skill and talent. But like I said, there's plenty of that in China, and fentanyl has what they call analogs, chemical cousins that are closely similar but have different effects. And some of those are as much as 10,000 times more powerful than morphine. Jeez. So you're talking about like carfentanil 10,000 times, 3-methylfentanyl, which is 6,600 times more powerful than morphine. I mean, you can't. It's a dose the size of a grain of sugar is enough to kill you. Okay, so I mean that's you can barely even see that.
Yeah,
see that dose, and so it's just as easy to make that in a clandestine laboratory as it is to make regular fentanyl. There's no real extra challenge involved.
Right.
So what if people in China decide, well, like you're saying about getting that little extra kick? What if they just said, well, you know what, this week we're going to make alpha methylfentanyl or carfentanil or 3-methylfentanyl, and we don't care if it kills 100,000 American addicts. What's that to us?
Right.
And that's to me is extremely frightening to think that kind of thing might be out there on the street. We ought to all be scared about that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just pills that are being laced up either these days. I mean, you're now getting heroin.
They're putting it in coke. There's even been some people who said that they laced marijuana with it.
Yep.
So what are you supposed to do when you're just trying to get a marijuana? You're going to smoke a little pot, and you got a fentanyl, boom, you're dead.
Yep.
Take a little coke, and boom, you're dead. It's really, really scary situation.
Yeah. And it's scary when I know we're talking about some legal substances, some illegal substances, but it shouldn't have to be buyer beware on a lot of that stuff. It should, you're going out with a reasonable expectation of what it is you're buying. You think you know what it is you're buying. You shouldn't have to gamble with your life when you're buying some substance. No,
and I would say I bought a lot of drugs undercover. Sounds weird to say that, but I did. I bought a lot of drugs, different, everything, almost everything. Very seldom did it lab test out to be what the claim was. I mean, if I was buying heroin, there was usually some heroin in there. There's all kinds of other stuff in there with it. And it wasn't nearly as good as what the dealer said it was.
Yeah.
But it was probably heroin. But sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes there was nothing there. One time I bought Nestle's Quick. So, it was, you just never knew. You just never knew what you were getting.
Yep.
And methamphetamine, same thing. Cocaine, same thing. It was, you just never knew what it's cut with. You never knew what was in it. Really, it's really a dodgy situation, and our approach to controlling drugs is more than partly responsible for that. Yeah. So I think we're going to have to look at it. I think a society is going to have to look at it in the future with a different eye and see if there isn't some other approach that might work better or as well, or hopefully we can solve the whole problem someday.
Yeah, exactly. Before we wrap things up here, John, let me ask you about this. You mentioned biker meth before, and I'm curious from your perspective and in your experience, where did meth really start to originate in biker gangs, and how did that start to form? Where did you first run across it, and how did you first come across it and learn of it?
Well, it was big in the 70s. Methamphetamine was. You ever heard the expression "speed kills"?
Yes,
that was one of the things in the late 60s, early 70s. People were down on meth even then. Meth goes way back. Obviously, it was formulated before or during World War II, and we gave it to the flyers and gave it to the Germans, gave it to their troops and whatever, and it was a problem after World War II. And then in the 70s, it was in Oklahoma. It was pretty much the key moneymaker for the biker gangs, the Hells Angels and the other Bandidos and the other outlaw biker gangs were heavily into meth. They were producing it. We busted at least 3 labs while I was working in Oklahoma. All of them were meth labs. And a far cry from Breaking Bad. You didn't see any of that stuff.
Yeah. It
was, some guy in a basement cooking in small quantities and sometimes bigger, but nothing like Breaking Bad. And it just took off after that. And it's cheaper than Coke. It was, at the time, I was paying half of what I would for a quarter ounce of Coke. I'd pay that for meth, and a lot cheaper and easier to acquire. And it was all injectable at the time. Some of it was snorted, but most of it was injectable. And they didn't smoke it until I went to Hawaii. After that was around 1990, they started getting the crystal meth, the smokable kind, which we got from Japan.
Interesting. Indeed. Huh. Interesting stuff, folks. Going Under: Kidnapping, Murder, and a Life Undercover is the name of the book. John Madinger is the author and the guy who experienced it all. He's the undercover agent, narcotics undercover agent, who has lived all of it. And I tell you, folks, you want to read a book that is just riveting from beginning to end, with true stories, true experiences. Now, okay, here's the point where we tell this story, John. The very end of the program, and the one that right now I have goosebumps thinking about. There's a case that we alluded to a little bit earlier in the program, where Jimmy Birdsong had talked about he would pay for part of the stash in gold, or part of the score in gold. You talk about in the book being shown your own grave.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah. Tell us that story. Okay, so first of all, that sentence in itself is so bone-chilling. Being shown your own grave. You walked into, and we talked about before, I forget the name of the term, but the rip. Being basically walking into an ambush. Had you not brought Jimmy with you on this particular buy, you more than likely would be dead.
Yeah, that probably would have happened. Yeah.
So explain to our listeners what exactly happened with this case.
Well, it was kind of eerily similar to the dog deal. Actually, I took Jimmy along. That was the only 2 times I ever had Jimmy with me undercover. And we got to this guy's house, doing it in his place again. And there was, our informant was there, and he wasn't supposed to be there. The crook was there, and he had a friend. And the 2 of them were sitting on a couch, and we were talking about the deal, and it just felt weird to me. And I got that way undercover. I could tell when things weren't happening the way they were supposed to. Mm-hmm. And it just felt weird. And finally we asked to see the stuff. He said, I got it in the back. I'll go show it to you. And he stands up. But before he stands up, I see him. He's sitting on the couch next to this other tweaker. And I see him slide a pistol between their legs. It's under his leg, and he slides it across and puts it under the other guy's leg. So I know these guys have got a gun. And we go back in the back with the guy who now doesn't have the gun. And Jimmy tries to pay him in gold, and he's laughing about it. And I'm going, quiet down, because the guy out there has a gun, which Jimmy hadn't seen. And so I said, I'll go get it from him. And I go out there, and I said, well, I'm going to go out to the car and get the money. And he's trying to follow me, and he's sitting at a couch, and he's trying to follow me and get behind him, walking behind him toward the front door, and grab it from behind around the neck, put my gun in his ear, tell him to bring his hand out from under his leg without a gun in it, which he did, and drag him off of that and put him in handcuffs. The backup comes in, everything's fine. And then the informant says, hey, come here, I want to show you something. So he takes me out in the backyard, and there's this board on the ground, and he pulls the board aside, and there's a hole underneath. And he says, you know what that is? And I said, no, it looks like a hole to me. And he goes, that's your grave, man.
Oh.
He goes, those guys weren't going to sell you the dope. They were just going to shoot you and put you in the hole. And I look at it and I go, well, that grave isn't big enough for me and Jimmy both. And he goes, yeah, they didn't know that. I think they would have still tried, though, which I was really annoyed with this guy at this point, because he didn't give us any he knew about what was going to happen, and he didn't say anything or say, can we talk out in the kitchen or anything. I guess he was too scared or whatever, but I was pretty annoyed with him about that. But yeah, that's a pretty sobering experience if you standing there looking at a hole in the ground and knowing that you'd fit pretty good.
Yeah.
And I had no intention of actually selling it to us. As soon as we showed him the money, that was going to be it.
Yeah. And there's some other stuff to the story too. I don't know if you want to tell it or not, but you don't have to if you don't want to. But the end of the story is pretty apropos. Let's just say that Jimmy gets involved too. But and it's I don't blame Jimmy for what he says. But
yeah, he was pretty annoyed. He was more annoyed than I was, actually. So,
but I it had to be just, at that point, I've got to ask you, you're looking at this hole, John, and I mean, your life doesn't it kind of flash before you? Like, and don't you have second thoughts about what am I doing in this thing? And do you even think about backing out at that point?
Well, yeah, no, because I dodged that bullet. And when you're 20, I was 23 at the time. Mm-hmm. And when you're 23 and you dodge the bullet, you figure, well, I'll dodge the next one too. And so, yeah, I mean, you lose a little of your confidence, but I just tried to get better at my job after that. I tried to avoid that. That was a situation that you can't always avoid. But I tried to avoid getting put in that position. Don't do deals at the guy's house. Don't do deals if there's another guy there. You know what I mean? You could try to get control over the thing, and that's what I tried to do. I mean, I didn't walk away from there going, well, this is too risky, which it was. You wouldn't see that kind of situation today.
Yeah.
They wouldn't put an undercover. Most of the federal agencies that I know of would not put an undercover in that situation today. They just wouldn't. And they would probably use an informant or something like that instead. But to put somebody in there, they just decided it was too risky. And it was risking a lot. And I would say, in the grand scheme of things, like if I hadn't been able to make this case successfully, I would have died for nothing, because in the grand scheme of things, busting these two guys wouldn't have made any difference at all. Didn't make any difference at all in the drug traffic. And I think that the knowledge that you would have been killed for no real reason at all, and not done any good by it, that's pretty sobering stuff.
But that lesson that you learned from that day, you've passed on to other agents, right?
Yeah.
So in that lesson has come in handy to many other agents.
Well, I hope so, but can't be sure, right?
That's true. You can't be sure. I just thank God you're still alive. I mean, that's the important part. I mean, but yeah, you're right. I mean, you put it in a sobering tone that it wouldn't have made a hill of beans if you would have died for nothing. I mean, because these two guys didn't matter a whole hell of a lot for anything in the drug trafficking war.
No, I don't even remember their names. So, I mean, it was really, you're risking everything undercover at the time. Like I say, it's changed. Things have changed, but back in the day, you're risking everything every time you go under. It was a huge risk. And I mean, not trying to say how wonderfully brave or anything I was. I mean, it was just like, looking back on it, I go, well, you know what? I mean, I should have been killed half a dozen times at least, And I mean, I talk about a couple of the other times in the book where I just did something stupid, or I should have gotten. But in this case, it's the realization that it wouldn't have made any difference at all in the drug business or drug traffic or the drug war or anything. If you become a casualty, what happens? Nothing. Basically, you're a casualty. That's it.
Right.
There's no winning. There's no losing. You're just dead.
Yeah. I know. And just briefly before we leave people here today on this portion of the program, I know you had mentioned no-knock warrants as some of the new stuff that they do. And I know you didn't really say one way or another whether no-knock warrants were that something you preferred or not. You kind of said you kind of enjoyed knocking on the door, and you had little tricks to get people to come to the door, which were kind of hilarious, to be honest with you. And that there was kind of a challenge to bringing people to the door to arrest them and get them forward before that, they could ever flush drugs or get rid of drugs, and to get that warrant served and to get into the place.
Yeah, I never applied for a no-knock authorization on my warrants. Never. I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't believe in them. Mm-hmm. It's just that I didn't really think that it was necessary in most cases to do that. And I don't like. The old way was that you had to knock and announce. You had to knock and say who you were and what you were there for. And then you had to wait until a person could come from the furthest part of the house to open the door for you.
Yeah.
That was the rule. You could move up the thing if you heard the guy trying to head for the toilet, or if you heard, somebody getting a gun or something like that. If you could hear any kind of action that made you think that they weren't going to open up, you could go ahead and kick the door. But to me, it was always easier to see if I could just get the door open, get the guy to open the door without kicking it. And then you don't have to pay for any damages either. So that's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole SWAT thing that they do now, I mean, nowadays they just take the guy, it's over in seconds. They're so good at opening those places and getting inside and doing it so fast. But it does cause problems, like you saw in Kentucky, where that girl, that lady got killed.
Yeah.
Breonna Taylor got killed wasn't a no-knock warrant, but it was close.
Yeah.
So that's when you get those situations. Nobody ever got hurt in one of my warrants. I mean, I was pretty careful about that.
I'm wondering, are there other tools that they use technology wise to, and I mean, if it's top secret and you can't talk about it, I understand, but are there other technological ways that they can use surveillance to make things a lot easier to serve those warrants or to get into a building, rather than just a no-knock warrant?
Well, I mean, sooner or later, you're going to have to execute the warrant.
Yeah.
And that means you got to go to the door and you got to knock and announce. I mean, that's like, unless you got a no-knock authorization, then you just kick the door down. But ultimately, it's just going to come down to somebody going to the door and forcing it open.
Yeah.
Asking it open.
Yep. I understand.
I don't know about any technology that'll do to get around that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I gotcha. I see what you're saying. Again, folks, I want to encourage you to go out and there's a lot of different things that are tackled here. One of the things one of the more funnier things we were talking earlier about, people trying to do whatever they could to get prescription drugs. There was one guy who actually checked himself into the hospital. That's kind of a funny story as well, and became his own doctor in order to get morphine. Kind of an amusing story. I want you guys to, I won't have John describe that story. I'll have you guys pick up the book and find out what the nurses were trying to do in order to try and bust this guy out. John had to get involved in that deal. Going Under, Kidnapping, Murder, and a Life Undercover is the name of the book. It's been put out by Wild Blue Press. You can get it by going to the description of the show. There's a link there. Wild Blue Press is the publisher on that one. John Madinger is our guest. John, I want to thank you so much, and the author of the book, by the way. John, I want to thank you so much for spending your time with us this afternoon and weighing in on a lot of this different stuff just outside of the book, and spending some quality time with us here today on True Crime Tuesday.
Well, it was a pleasure being on, and I want to thank you for having me. It was great opportunity.
Thank you so much. Had a good time as well. So thank you, John. Folks, it's that time once again. We're going to clear the palate a little bit. We're going to talk some dumb crimes and stupid criminals with our co-host, Beer City Bruiser.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time you've all been waiting for. It is time for dumb crimes and stupid criminals. And of course, we need a co-host. We're going to bring in the co-host with the most. It is the BCB, the Big Cuddly Bear, Beer City Bruiser. How you doing, Bruiser?
I'm doing fantastic, Tim. How are you doing?
Very well, my friend. Very well. I am so full of ribs, you have no idea.
That's right. You were at a cook-off.
I was at a rib competition, my friend. I'll just 3 words for you: root beer sauce.
My mouth's watering.
I can barely move.
You ate your weight in ribs.
I've had the itis since Saturday.
Meat coma.
Yeah,
the best kind.
It's the best kind. That's for sure. Let's jump into it today, my friend. We've got, speaking of having the itis, we're going to end with food today. We're going to end with chicken, and we're going to end with probably 2 ways you don't want your chicken prepared. That's a little bit of a teaser. Yeah, that's
some foreplay going into the end of this, huh?
Oh, so to speak. That's going to be at the end of our program. But first, let's talk a little bit about a new way to get rid of your criminals. Alabama is actually they're ready to try an untried execution method coming up at the end of the month. They've decided to fry their chicken a different way.
Okay.
So to speak.
Are they bringing old Sparky back?
Well, we wish. No, Alabama could be ready to use a new untried execution method called nitrogen hypoxia. How would you like to go that way?
No. That means that's inject nitrogen in your bloodstream, right? And
I think so. Yeah.
it just goes into wherever and you die. No, not fun.
Yeah. That sounds like they're making a freezy pop out of you.
I used to get scared as a kid every time I went to blow up like a basketball or a football, that needle would pierce me, because my dad always put it into my head that if that needle pierces you and you get air in your bloodstream, your heart explodes.
Yeah.
Which he's not wrong, but the chances of that thing piercing you, you have to put a lot of force behind that.
I have a similar fear because when you're diabetic, they give you the education about, injecting the quick pen insulin into you. And they say, okay, you've got to kind of clear the chamber, get the air out of there first. So you dial up a couple of micrograms at a time, or a couple of units at a time, and you expel the air until you get the first little bits or the first 2 units out of fluid, kind of like you see them clear the little chamber of the needle every time they give a shot.
Yeah.
So when I go and get my shot in the eye, which I did last week, they never do that. So there are air bubbles that float in my eye for about 4 to 5 days, which drives you nuts because it looks like the air bubbles from a level.
Yeah.
It looks like 2 little olives floating around in your vision.
You're like, hey, I am level. I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, except for when you lay down and they disappear and it finally looks normal. But then when you sit back up, they go boing in your eye, right? Which then drives you nuts again.
Yeah.
But then you get nervous because the diabetic educator goes, well, you've got to clear that air out of there, because if you don't, it can get trapped in a vein. If it gets trapped in a vein, bad things can happen. You're like, oh, what could happen? Am I going to die? And they go, well, no, but you could get a real bad bruise. So, you get these things running through your head like, well, I'm going to die. I'm going to die from, air in the vein.
Yeah. It's
right?
like Hollywood just starts replaying in your head.
Yeah. So,
like, I actually thought my heart would just grow and grow and grow and grow and explode.
Right. We're in the same mind wavelength, my friend. We have the same fear with that damn needle and the air in the needle.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
And you know what? My little brother did the same thing. He's a type 1 diabetic. Comes up to me and he says, Timmy, I got a question for you. And he was really panicked once. He just grabbed his insulin pen and just cranked up the amount of units he needed without clearing out the air, and just wham, hit himself with a shot. Then he came over with this sick look on his face, and his face was completely white. And he said, I think you got to take me to the hospital.
I got air in me.
Yep, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? And he goes, I just took an insulin shot and I didn't clear the chamber in the pen.
Yeah.
I said, clear the chamber? And he goes, yeah, get the air out. I said, yeah. And he goes, yeah. He goes, what's going to happen to me? I said, well, you might get a bruise.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's not going to go to my heart and kill me. I go, no, I thought that for a long time too.
See? But, that's a common thought.
Yeah.
And now they're purposely doing it in Alabama.
Yeah, and now they're going to kill you in Alabama with an insulin pen, evidently. No, it's
nitrogen.
It's nitrogen hypoxia is what they're calling it. That's how they're going to carry out a death sentence later this month. This, according to a state attorney who told the federal judge this on Monday. James Houts or Hoots, I think it's Houts, Houts, like Fouts, like Dan Fouts, but not really. No one's killing Dan Fouts from the San Diego Chargers, but they are.
I haven't heard that name in 20 years.
I know. I like to throw out the obscure shit every once in a while. So James Houts, a deputy state attorney general, told U.S. District Judge R. Austin Huffaker Jr. Well, that sounds
that's a name.
That sounds official, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That it is very likely the method will be available for the execution of Alan Eugene Miller, currently set for September 22nd by lethal injection. The final decision on whether to use the new method is up to Corrections Commissioner John Hamm, not the actor, by the way.
I was going to say, the actor is also the governor, huh?
He's the county corrections commissioner.
County correctional thing, yeah.
Yeah. And litigation is likely if they decide to use the method. Now, here's the explanation, Bruiser, if you'd like a little more nightmare fuel for
I would,
your
because
day.
right now I picture in my head that scene from Terminator 2 when the nitrogen tank tips over.
Yeah.
And the T-1000's walking.
Yep.
So I'm just picturing they inject this guy, and as he's walking back to his cell, his legs fall apart, and then his, torso, and then he just shatters.
I think you're close, yeah. Nitrogen hypoxia, which is supposed to cause death by replacing oxygen with nitrogen, has been authorized by Alabama and 2 other states for execution, but never used. Who are the 2 other states? I'm not going to live there.
Neither am I. Please don't be North Carolina. Please don't be North Carolina.
Convicted in a triple killing in 1999, Miller is trying to block his execution at Holman Prison. I would too. It doesn't matter what he did. The disclosure is, I can't even read right now. I'm thrown by nitrogen taking over for oxygen. The disclosure about the possibility of using the new method came during a court hearing on Miller's claim that prison staff several years ago lost his paperwork. In it, he requested nitrogen as his execution method rather than lethal injection. Is the man insane?
So wait, you can choose your own way of dying?
You can, yes.
Well, then I'm just gonna, if that ever happens to me, I'm just gonna be like, hey, can I just overeat?
Yeah, right? Do it slow.
Yeah.
Do it slow.
Yeah.
I like to die from obesity.
Yes.
Yeah, if that's possible. Wearing a maroon shirt with his hands shackled in front of him, Miller testified that he returned a state form selecting nitrogen on the same day it was distributed to inmates by a prison worker. Oh, they just give it away for you to do it, I guess. Here's your nitrogen.
Please fill this out. Please fill this out.
Yeah.
Here's your nitrogen.
Please fill it out and take your needle. So here's the quote. I remember the guy yelling he was going to put something in the door and would be back to pick them up, Miller testified. Miller described how he disliked needles because of painful attempts at drawing blood. He said nitrogen gas sounded like the nitrous oxide gas used at dentist's office, and that seemed better than lethal injection.
No.
No. I did not want to be stabbed with a needle, Miller said.
Well, I'm sure the people that you killed didn't want to get killed by you, so.
That's right. So, it's even Steven on that deal.
Yeah.
The state, attempting to cast doubt on the inmate's story about the form, asked him if he could describe anything about the officer who distributed the paper, but Miller said he couldn't. Regarding the new execution method, Houts told the judge the state had gone as far as to see if Miller would agree to be fitted with a mask for use of nitrogen. Right, Ziggy, I know. But the inmate declined. So he's saying, no, I won't try on the mask, but,
But that's what I want.
Yeah, that's what I want. Miller's lawyer, Mara Klebener, said the inmate's legal team needed more information about the nitrogen process and wouldn't agree blindly to its use.
Do they want to make sure it's not super lethal? Like, what research do they want to do?
Yeah. Well, we want it to be inhumane, but not too inhumane.
Yeah. We know he's going to die, but we don't want him to die.
Right. Yeah. We don't want him to be a freezy pop, but, we want him to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just don't want people to try and put him in their drink after he's gone. So the Miller's lawyers don't want him to be the test case for an untried execution method, she said. So they just don't want him to be number one.
Yeah.
In life, you want to be number one. But in this case, no.
Could you talk to Jim over there? Yeah, Jim over there, he said he'll go first. So let me watch him go, and then I'll go after him.
Miller, a delivery truck driver, was convicted in workplace shootings that killed Lee Holdbrooks, Scott Yancey, and Terry Jarvis in suburban Birmingham. Miller shot Holdbrooks and Yancey at one business and then drove to another location to shoot Jarvis. Well, so you can't say it was a mistake.
No.
Miller was delusional and believed the men were spreading rumors about him, including that he was gay, testimony showed. Over rumors. A defense psychiatrist said Miller suffered from severe mental illness, but his condition wasn't bad enough to use as a basis for an insanity defense under state law.
No, he's a psychopath.
Yeah,
narcissistic psychopath.
Yes, he is. And, soon he's about to be filled with nitrogen, evidently.
You think he'll blow up like a balloon, like a Macy's Day Parade balloon, and just float around?
I think that's hydrogen you're thinking of.
Oh, yeah. And helium.
Yeah, and helium,
They accidentally
right.
give him helium.
Hey, I'm not dead. I'm just extremely weird, but not dead. Hey, guys, wrong substance.
I like how he went with the most extreme, like, fearful way of getting, like, an execution because he watched, like, a dentist office. Like, nobody likes going to the dentist.
Right. Yeah. First of all, that's... And I think you might even have that wrong. I mean, I know it's a form of nitrate gas.
But it's not nitrogen.
Right, it's not nitrogen.
No, it's laughing gas is what it is.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
He's thinking of the laughing gas.
Yes, he's thinking...
Nitrate, right? Is that it?
Yeah.
Nitrous. No, nitrous isn't a
nitrous
car.
oxide is laughing gas.
Yes.
But you're not dying by laughing gas. You're dying by nitrogen.
Really good.
Yeah. That's replacing your nitrogen by oxygen has to be somewhat painful. Wouldn't it be?
Well, do you fall asleep like with carbon monoxide?
I got to think you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's the case, just take the lethal injection because they put you to sleep before they kill you.
Yeah, they do. They do.
You know, and a secret, dude, if you don't like needles, look the other way.
Yeah. Here's the deal. You're a little prick. You're going to feel a little prick, and then you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all that complicated. But what's a needle between friends?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting story here for our second story here, Bruiser. I bet you didn't know you could still draw a public salary while you're in jail.
I did know that. I thought they outlawed that you can make money in jail though because of John Wayne Gacy selling his paintings.
Well, if you have outside projects, but my friend, you can be an elected official and still make money.
Oh,
while you're in the stir.
Okay, this is news to me.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
This dumb criminal evidently is not that dumb at all. A jailed murder suspect is still drawing $130,000 a year public salary.
What's he selling or like what's he spending it on? He's got the best commissary in jail.
He does. He's got the good toilet paper, the good safety razors, and
all the honey buns he can eat.
That's right. All the honey buns you could possibly want. Robert Tellis of Las Vegas is accused of murdering a journalist who wrote critical stories. Evidently can't take criticism.
Yeah, this is 2 in a row now that people killed somebody because they didn't like what they were saying about them.
Yeah, I know. That's a theme so far, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Robert Tellis is a jailed murder suspect in Las Vegas, but he also still is the Clark County public administrator and thus is still drawing his $130,000 a year salary.
So murder is not grounds for termination is what I'm getting out of this.
Yeah, you got to go a little further than that. Yeah.
He steals Post-its from the office. He's gone.
That's right.
But he murders somebody.
Well, now let's let a review. We need a review by a review board for that deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Post-it notes, you're gone.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. It also appears that the 45-year-old will continue making that money until January.
They have good reason to fire him.
Well, that's when his elected successor takes over. Yes, it's an elected position. So there has to be a runoff. Tellis lost the June primary, of course, and is not a candidate for re-election. So
that had to be an interesting campaign.
Yeah, I'm running against nobody, because he's in jail.
The smear campaign. You want to vote for my opponent? Well, this is where he is. Jail.
Guess what? I'm killing the competition. Hey, get it? Killing the competition because he's in jail for murder?
Here's why you should vote for me. I've never murdered somebody that you know of.
That you know of. Don't look into my background. There's nobody in my backyard. The public official is accused of fatally stabbing a renowned local investigative journalist by the name of Jeff German earlier this month. German had written a critical expose of Tell's office and of Tell's personal conduct for the Las Vegas Review-Journal in May and was working on another. Oh, so he had plenty of juicy stuff on him.
Why get into politics if you're worried about what people are going to say about you?
It's a good point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why go for public office when you're worried that they're going to say something bad about you? That's the whole point of running against somebody who dig up the juicy stuff.
Yeah, you got to have some thick skin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. For now, he's still an elected official, and he'll get paid while he's in jail. Democratic Clark County Commissioner Tick Segerblom. That is a heck of a name, isn't it?
That is.
Tick
Does he
Segerblom.
report via Skype or Zoom to the community meetings?
He does.
Because he still has to attend them, I'm assuming, right?
You're talking about the criminal.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be Mr. Tell. You know what? I think he's excused. Yeah, I don't think it's mandatory.
Hey, if I voted for him, I want him doing his job no matter what.
He's sitting there with notes that are written on toilet paper.
He better have a write-in vote for everything.
The only right. I'm not quite up on this issue. I've been away. Can somebody update me?
They took away my TV time. Could somebody please let me know what's going on?
Yeah. We can take the scope of work away from him, is what Tick had to say. I think I missed a line here. The only way that would not be the case is if a recall vote happens, they're saying, or if Tells resigns. They're saying the only way that he wouldn't lose his job. Or would lose his job. We can take the scope of work away from him, but as far as him having the title and getting the salary, it is that way because the voters picked him, says Segerblom. Investigators say Tells, wearing a large straw hat in an apparent attempt at a disguise, stabbed the 69-year-old German outside the journalist's home. The Los Angeles Times details the men's history with one another, with Tells railing against Germans' critical stories on social media before the killing. Just a confusion.
Is he trying to look like a farmer? Like a big straw hat?
Either that or Hannibal Lecter on vacation, one or the other.
He's a really psychopathic tourist.
Yes, exactly.
Sadistic tourist.
I'm on vacation, Clarice. Yeah, it was. That's a really bad impression, by the way. Just terrible stuff. I don't know if you heard about this prank that happened down at a Florida high school.
No,
but they're talking about charges against the high school students who did it.
Okay.
Now, we all played pranks in high school.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But we never did pranks that had to do with school shootings.
No. Well, when we went to high school, there was no such thing as school shooting.
Right. Times are a-changing, Bruiser.
Yeah, you don't joke about school shooting. That's not a prank.
No. A cruel prank led to panic at a Florida high school. It's said that charges will be brought up on the students and possible expulsion. Scooting, listen to me. A scooting share. A shooting scare at a Central Florida high school was a cruel prank carried out by two groups of students who now face criminal charges and possible expulsion. Police have said rumors, lies, and conspiracy theories have been floating around on social media since Friday's lockdown at Mainland High School in Daytona Beach. Police said Sunday in a lengthy Facebook post. This entire incident appears to have been a cruel prank by several students that has now gotten out of control due to internet trolls, misinformed people, and in some cases, people that are not even in Florida. How do you like that one?
Yeah. That's just people sticking their nose into what doesn't matter to them.
Right. Investigators said officials at the school became aware of a threat written on a bathroom stall Thursday. School officials and law enforcement reviewed video and interviewed two students who had entered the bathroom around the time the graffiti was discovered. The students denied involvement, and it was determined that no threat existed. According to police, on Friday, two groups of students in the cafeteria decided to capitalize on the threat and appear to collaborate with each other to create a panic. They were seen on video getting into specific positions and locations within the cafeteria, timing their actions, and several female students told an administrator someone had a gun. At the same time, a male student ran from the building, causing a large crowd to follow him.
Why would they... Where in their head did they think this was a good idea?
I have no idea. Detectives have...
It's like, read the room, dude. Read the room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Detectives have identified students involved in the incident and interviewed most of them. Stories have changed from seeing someone with a gun to they just heard there was one, the report said. The agency planned to have an extra presence on campus Monday to ensure that everything goes smoothly. Second-degree felony charges for making a false report concerning the use of a firearm in a violent manner are pending for those involved. The statement said detectives are also recommending that everyone involved be expelled from school.
I don't think expelled, but they need to be punished.
At least suspended.
But yeah, suspension for sure.
Yeah. But
and if they're seniors, possibly not graduating.
Yeah.
Or walking across the stage.
Right.
Our pranks weren't that bad.
No. And you don't joke about things like school shootings.
No. Like our pranks, we put fish in the heater vent.
Yeah.
So then in wintertime when they turn the heat on, it smelled like fish.
A little more innocent, but sure, yeah.
And we released carp in the swimming pool, so they had to drain the swimming pool.
You guys had a thing with fish, didn't you? That was big.
Yeah, one guy rode a motorcycle through the commons area.
Okay.
He did a burnout there. The year after us, they planted a tree at the 50-yard line of the football field. Yeah. Trying to think what else they did. They filled a roll full of lockers full of Jell-O.
Oh, that's a good one.
So that when they opened them to clean them, Jell-O just came out.
That's nice. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm sure the custodian loved you guys after that one.
Yeah. I mean, there was stink bombs. There was rotten food, the whole nine. Fish was the main theme though. Someone did put a dead deer on all the teachers' cars that had white. That were white.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you rotten.
He got suspended.
I bet he did. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a convertible.
Oh no.
That was the English teacher, and she had a white. It was a white. I forget what kind of car it was. I think it was a Cutlass. I remember it was white and had a black rag top. And he threw the deer on it and went through the rag top into the car.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he got suspended. He graduated, but he wasn't able to walk across the stage with us.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible. That's terrible. You kids.
Still not as bad as what these kids did. Like that's tame compared to what these kids did.
Worst thing I ever did, but I did it out of love. Look how I'm prefacing it. I did it out of love. We loved our newspaper advisor to death, Harry Jackson. But he's trying to put the paper to bed. Putting the paper to bed is taking the layouts of each page and getting it to the printer. Yeah. And he had to get it to the printer on time, and he would wait till the very last minute because, of course, us kids were dragging our ass to get the layouts done.
Yeah.
So he was in a rush, an absolute rush, and we knew that this was going to happen, and this was getting to be one of the very last issues of the paper in the very last days of our senior year. So myself and my accomplices, I won't name them, but one of them happens to be Yoko. We went out and purchased some of the nicest 2-ply toilet paper you could, and we wrapped his car like a mummy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
From head to toe, bumper to bumper, stem to stern. And when I say wrap it, I mean wrapped it like a hockey stick.
Yeah.
So there's only one way to get it in that car. And of course, Harry didn't carry scissors with him.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. He and keep in mind, his arms are full of full pages of news.
Right.
In envelopes. And we were hiding around the corner behind cars as he runs out to his car to get into the car because he would leave before school was dismissed to get to the printer. And it was the first time I ever saw Harry want to cry. I mean, I think I saw tears come out of his eyes, and I felt bad at that point for a brief second.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to giggle. But he was like, no. And then he looks around and starts yelling, "Who did this?" Like a bird was going to answer him.
Right.
And he's like, what do I do? What do I do? And he put everything down on the ground, and he just started ripping just one piece of 2-ply at a time
Why not just rip the whole thing?
I don't know. Like he was trying to figure out what it was made out of. Like maybe we got into the paper mache in the art department.
Right.
He was trying to figure out if it was a solid substance. Now, keep in mind, we were kind because...
You could have gotten it wet.
Right. Well, we could have. And it could have been a mess. But it was dry.
Yeah.
And it was a dry day. There was no rain that was coming. So, it was one of those things where, we were quite kind to Harry. All he had to do, it was probably about... a couple inches thick on the car, but really he just had to take the hands that he wanted to strangle these little bastards with that did this to his car and just rip it right off the car, right?
Yeah.
I think he was so distraught that he didn't realize that he had that strength in him. So he took out his keys and he started to saw.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So once he got a little strand free, then he realized it unravels.
Right.
So then he was starting to unravel everything. It took him about 10 minutes to get himself free. But he didn't get the entire car free. He just got the windshield free and his door free. And then he drove off. So it looked like he was getting married to himself as he took off out of the parking lot. And I've never laughed so hard in my life.
When I worked at a grocery store, our manager, it was his last day. And we all loved him because he always gave us off for all our high school stuff. We took the big shipping plastic that you wrap pallets in, and we wrapped his car in that.
Oh, that is cruel and unusual.
And then put Vaseline over the door handle. So, like, if he tried to grab it, he couldn't grab it.
Oh, my God, that's horrible.
Yeah, so we graduated your idea to that. But we were happy for him to leave, but we were unhappy, because he was a cool manager, all of us high school kids.
Yeah. See, I thought about that because I was the one who originated this idea. And I thought maybe saran wrap. And I thought that's just too cruel and unusual because in the heat of the day, it sticks to the paint.
See, we were night clerks, so
okay. It wouldn't have done that. But in the heat of the day, it compresses.
Yeah.
And it ends up starting to take to the paint.
Yeah.
And it would have ruined his car. So I there's no way I could do that. I didn't want to ruin his car. And
some episode I'll have to tell about all the little underwater needlepoint pranks that we pull on one another.
Oh, most definitely. You guys have some of the best pranks ever. I'm telling you. You got some of the best ever. Let's move on. A homeless man is accused of stealing groceries and then trying to set the store manager on fire. This happening in Moreno Valley, California.
They are experiencing a heat wave out there.
They are, but not that hot. I'll tell you that much. The homeless man accused of trying to set a store manager on fire after he tried to stop him for stealing groceries faced a judge in a Riverside County courtroom last week. Raul Batista, not the guy who used to wrestle, 31 years old, entered a plea of not guilty to one count of attempted murder and one count of robbery. According to Riverside County Sheriff's Department, the incident happened, it says here on Thursday, but this was actually a couple weeks ago, around 11:30 a.m. at the Food for Less grocery store on Alessandro Boulevard in Moreno Valley. Deputies said Batista kind of hulked up a little bit, then shot an imaginary machine gun, and then attempted to leave the store with a grocery cart full of items. I made that first part up.
With pyro going off and his music blaring. Yep.
It sounded a lot like Godsmack. With a grocery cart full of items without paying for them. When the store manager confronted him, deputies say Batista doused the victim with lighter fluid, then pulled out a lighter and tried to set him on fire.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not nice.
No.
Just
punch and run, dude. Punch and run.
Yeah, let's keep it simple. When deputies arrived, they saw a man matching the suspect's description fleeing the scene. A sheriff's canine and bloodhound was used to track the suspect. Deputies said Batista was arrested a short time later without incident. Kroger spokesperson Sonny Parr, which is the nicest spokesperson name ever.
It is.
Sonny Parr.
Like, you just can't be mad at him.
Or her. Could be.
Or her, yeah, it could be either. You're right.
One. Because it's Sunny, like it's sunny outside.
So it could be either.
Yeah.
Male or female.
Male or female. Said in a statement, at Food for Less, the safety of our associates and customers is our top priority. Oh, that is so typical. First, right off the top statement. It's so corporate.
It's textbook.
It's textbook. Here comes the second one, which is very textbook. Our associates are in customer service and personal safety, and they strive to provide fresh, full, and friendly stores to our communities.
Yeah, they can't even name the team member that was assaulted.
They can't. They don't even know.
No.
But you know what? They strive, Bruiser, for cleanliness and friendliness in every single store.
They do.
How do you like my corporate speak, buddy?
Yeah, you're real corporate. We got to put you in a suit.
I know. I
put you in front of a press. You can handle all of the matters.
I scream Mr. Rogers friendliness when it comes to corporate speak.
Like Mr. Cruiser at this Kroger store.
That's right.
One of your associates was assaulted. How do you respond?
Oh, well, you know what? As it goes, Mr. Bruiser, we strive for friendliness and cleanliness in every Kroger store. And we serve you, the customer, at every Kroger store. We look for great value and great price. Well, having the ultimate experience in every one of our Kroger stores. We look for a comfortable experience for you, even as you're burning to the ground, Mr. Bruiser. So we find that when it comes to our employees, no expense is spared, even personal injury. To get
Mr.
you
Cruiser, Mr. Cruiser, it's
yes,
Bruiser from Eyewitness News.
Yes.
Can you answer a question without answering the question, please?
Sure. Absolutely, Mr. Bruiser. So this week at Kroger, we have some fine sales. We've got 85% burger on sale. Not cheeseburger, your friend, but actual burger for sale for just $2.99 a pound. We find that's a good deal. Watermelon on sale. Fresh watermelon for sale. Just 69 cents. We've got it's a barn burner sale, we like to call it. Has nothing to do with the victim in this case. and if you'd like, it's a Labor Day sale, as in, oh my gosh, I'm laboring from the pain of this incredible fire. A Labor Day sale, which is Post Toasties. Post Toasties are on sale for just $1.99 a box.
And all cleaning products, because you are a very clean and healthy store.
Friendliness and cleanliness here at Kroger. Thank you very much.
Oh, you'd be perfect. You'd be perfect.
I've got the corporate speak down. The shopping center has seen an unhoused transient population that comes and goes. This is part of their statement, by the way. We are not aware of any serious incidents that have occurred recently, except for the guy who hangs out in the back. Evidently, from what they said. Some shoppers outside the store on Tuesday said the number of incidents regarding transients is on the rise. Damon Toney of Moreno Valley said, quote, lately it's been getting worse. This whole area has kind of been getting that way right here to Alessandro and Paris, especially that center where the Arco is. It's real bad. The homeless are now really aggressive. Batista remains behind bars with bail set at $1 million. Somehow I don't think he's going to pay that. His next scheduled court appearance is September 2nd, which just passed us. So we'll try to get an update on the story if we can find one. But in the meantime, Kroger, cleanliness and friendliness. That's right.
Now you just need to edit in some sort of like 80s jingle in there.
Kroger, cleanliness and friendliness. It's a store near you. You know. We go back to Florida. That we were in California. We're going back to Florida now, where a 19-year-old motorist gets a slap on the wrist. It's a slap on the wrist for a woman in a bucket list bust. Do you remember this woman?
A bucket list bust.
Yeah, let me refresh your memory here. She was just 19 years old. Leave her alone, they said, but she sped away from police and said the arrest was on her to-do list. She hasn't lived enough of life, Bruiser. She needed to get out there and just do it. Evidently,
get arrested. Okay.
She was
I didn't know that was a bucket list item.
Yeah, she's like Nike. Just do it.
Well, she's a big fan of Thelma and Louise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's looking for that person to hold hands with.
Well, Brad Pitt ain't coming. I'll tell you that. The Florida woman who told cops that her bucket list included getting arrested for something simple has received a slap on the wrist for leading officers on a 5-mile car chase.
Oh, yeah, of course, something simple.
Yeah, something simple.
Instead of, stealing a candy bar, vandalism. No, just going a 5-mile car chase.
19-year-old Jynea Chimerical Douglas was arrested in May on a felony charge for allegedly fleeing from cops while driving her Toyota on a roadway in Key Largo. God bless Jynea Chimerical Douglas.
What kind of middle name is Chimerical?
Chimerical.
Chimerical.
Let's stick the landing here, Bruiser. Chimerical. It's not a chimerical. It's a chimerical.
So she's like from Chicago, and it's a miracle she's born. So it's a chimerical.
No. It's Shy spelled like the band Shy from the 90s.
I'm not familiar.
You remember Shy? Shy was the band that used to go up against, what was the other group that sang If I Ever Fell in Love? Maybe it was Shy that sang If I Ever Fell in Love. Let me see here. I have to.
I'm sure if I asked Mrs. Bruiser, she'd know who that was. 'Cause she has some weird, obscure band. Shy. You ever heard of Shy? Nope. Even got her thrown for.
Oh, come on, Mrs. Bruiser. You know Shy.
Huh?
AI or Y?
SHAI.
AI. Oh, yep. She knows who it is.
See, she knows. Tell me you don't know who Shy is, girl. Come on.
I don't.
Well, I'm not calling you.
Obscure.
I'm not calling you girl. I'm calling her girl.
We'll be on a road trip and we'll be listening to our Sirius XM radio,
right.
and the most obscure song in the world will come on, and she'll just start singing it, and I'll be like, "What?
Yeah.
How? Where? You? Huh?"
Shy sang "If I Ever Fell in Love." Do you remember the song "If I Ever Fell in Love"?
No.
No.
I'm sorry.
Are you?
I was a grunge kid.
Well, they were kind of grungy. I mean, and like they probably didn't take a shower every day. But no, they were the grungier side of what was
R&B?
that? Of R&B, yeah. You know what? I may have to actually set this up. I think we can probably play a couple of seconds of this.
Well, Mrs. Bruiser's over here dancing with some headphones in, so I'm assuming she's got Shy on the playlist right now.
Yeah, I probably triggered her. She was like, "Ooh, Shy. Oh, we're talking about Shy. Oh shit, yeah, come on, boy." Let me see here. Let me set this up real quick here. I'll play it. I've got this amazing system that I paid all this money for just so I could share with you, the home audience.
She's pointing at me saying, "I know this." So
see, she knows. She knows.
Was it played at our wedding?
No. Was it played at our wedding? Let's see, a Wisconsin wedding. It was either that or the Beer Barrel Polka, one or the other.
That was played at our wedding. Thank you very much.
Oh, was it? Oh, look at you. You're like, it was played at our wedding. Thank you very much.
We're both Brewer fans. All right. Well, you got this Shy for me. What? Come on.
So her name is Jynea Chimerical Douglas. Are you impressed? I hit it 3 times now.
You have. Look at you.
You know why? Because I have some African-American family. I'm just saying. I got, you got to pronounce it correctly. Otherwise, you're
Now, if I listen to the song, it's not going to program me to have a bucket list of getting arrested, is it?
No, I mean, unless you want to get arrested for certain things.
No, I don't want to. I'm too old.
I mean, do you want to lead police on a 5 mile chase?
No, I'm too old.
Unless it's in my scooter. I mean, other than that, but other than that, okay, here we go. This is it right here. I think this is the acapella version. I don't think it's the other one is. You can't hear it?
No. Nope.
No?
No.
You can't hear it?
No. It's only in your headphones.
In my headphones? Hold on. Oh, you can't hear it.
Oh, wait, don't do that.
Oh, hold on. Can you hear it now?
Yeah. Oh, that's like 8th grade dance music stuff. I know that song.
See,
yeah.
That's Shy.
Yeah. Fred. Oh, yeah, I know this. Malonis sings this all the time.
Okay, there you go. That's Shy.
Okay, I got that.
All right.
That's like I said, 8th grade dance music stuff.
8th grade dance music stuff. So she's named after Shy.
Okay.
Shy Miracle.
Well, allegedly, we don't know for sure. We don't know her parents.
Well, I'm just saying she's only 19, so I mean that's about the time frame.
Yeah, you're right.
See?
You're right.
So
'Cause it's
therefore,
90s, so yeah, you're right.
Therefore, I get to keep my white boy ghetto pass.
Which means in the next 10 years, there's gonna be babies named Bruiser.
It's true. I guess. I mean, I don't know who's grinding it out to the Bruiser theme from ROH, but hey.
Hey, it's a fantastic theme.
Yeah, well, it is.
You can find it on YouTube. It's called Closing Time.
There you go.
But
you know what?
Little plug.
We'll play it tomorrow. We'll play the ROH Bruiser theme when we come back from break.
All right.
So people
I have the remix version too.
Do you? Okay. All right.
I have the babyface version and the heel version.
All right. Well, which one would you prefer?
I don't care.
All right.
They're both good.
Okay. So
bucket list.
Jania Chimerical Douglas. Bucket
You
list.
to do it again, didn't you?
I did. Number 4. After a sheriff's deputy spotted Douglas speeding over 90 miles an hour reckless around 7:45 a.m., she continued to drive without stopping as a patrol car with its siren and emergency lights activated pursued her vehicle. According to an arrest report, Douglas, a cop alleged, was observed looking at my patrol vehicle from behind as her window was cracked open. After driving for about 5 miles, Douglas approached a 3-way stop where another deputy deployed the spike system in front of the defendant's vehicle. That had to be a surprise.
Yeah, like, hey, this isn't on my bucket list. Stop it.
My car flipping over end was not on my bucket list. Douglas, who stopped her car before running over the spike strip, told police she was running late for her job as a housekeeping supervisor at a resort. A cop responded that she could have stopped her vehicle when I activated my light and siren, and at worst, maybe a citation would have been issued. Instead, her refusal to stop is criminal, the officer added. It was at this point that Douglas mentioned twice her bucket list in high school was to be arrested for something simple.
That's not simple. That put a lot of people in danger there, Chimerical.
It was at this point that Sergeant Robert Dosh reported, I explained she has now fulfilled her bucket list.
Anything else I can help you with? Please fill out a survey as you go into jail.
Would you like to stop at Denny's on the way? Because I know that might be there too. During a recent court appearance, Douglas, who has no prior criminal history, entered into a pretrial intervention agreement calling for her to serve 96 hours of community service and pay $750 in court costs. She also must write a letter of apology to Dosh. Oh, that ought to be good. If Douglas stays out of trouble for 12 months and complies with the agreement's other terms, prosecutors will dismiss the fleeing or attempting to elude count, which is a third-degree felony. She's
I'm
actually
sorry, Mr. Officer, but I want to thank you for helping me with my bucket list.
She's actually a pretty good-looking girl.
No, she's not.
I'm just saying, she's, you know.
We have two different.
I mean, she's
ranges of what we think is attractive.
She's pretty good looking for a felon.
She looks like that girl from the little weasel thingy from Ice Age.
What? She does not look like the little Weasley thing from Ice Age.
Yes, she does.
No,
her eyes are way over there.
On. No, they're not. Oh, come on.
I would tell that girl she's just a friend.
I'm so sorry, Jania Chimerical Douglas. Bruiser knows not what he speaks of.
I do.
We get into the... Is it just a bite or is it a little more than that? Do you want a little bit more than that? Is it a morsel you're looking for?
Okay.
Part of our program. We'll move on from Jania Chimerical.
From our 90s retro.
Yes, from our 90s retro. Is it just a bite or would you like a little bit more? That's the next 3 stories we're talking about. We go to Rome, Georgia, where a Rome woman was jailed after biting another's thigh and arm. Maybe it was tasty.
What is with biting and fighting nowadays?
I don't know.
This is the 3rd story I've heard of someone biting somebody during a story.
Yeah, well.
Or assault.
If you're ready, I got another name to throw out to you.
I'm ready.
29-year-old Jomanda Shanice Daniel of Rome was arrested this week after reports said she bit and hit another woman during a dispute on Ross Street. Police said that Daniel punched the victim in the face, resulting in her eye turning black and purple while swelling closed. She's also accused of biting the victim several times on her left arm and right thigh. Reports said the victim had visible puncture marks on their leg. Daniel is also charged with aggravated battery. Meanwhile, 2 ads down, there are ads for McDonald's asking for me to get the new bakery and breakfast, which is served all day, and the new crispy chicken or spicy crispy chicken sandwiches.
They know their audience.
They do.
Biting, you say?
Biting, while here, there's the new crispy chicken sandwich. Meanwhile, we go to Thailand, where a drunk woman gets an earful after biting a tourist's ear off in Pattaya. You know, if
she was a close talker while she's drunk.
If it's
a really close talker.
A really close talker, exactly. If it's good enough for Mike Tyson, it's good enough for her. I guess.
Mm-hmm. I'm a really close talker when I'm drunk.
Are you?
Yeah, and I'm loud.
Well, it's a good thing we have Skype between us. A drunken Thai woman was arrested on Saturday in Pattaya after an unprovoked attack on a Thai American tourist without reason, biting his right ear off and swallowing it.
Oh, so she won up Mike Tyson.
It's chewy.
I hear you better now.
It's like bubblegum with cartilage. The 28-year-old offender, Kanika Kamtan, was arrested after the incident and taken to Muang Pattaya police station. You ever been there?
No, but I want to go there now just because that's an amazing name.
Yeah, Muang Pattaya, I'm sorry. Muang Pattaya police station.
They have really good wonton soup there.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The spring rolls, to die for.
Oh, yeah, I figured.
Police reported she was very drunk and couldn't answer questions. Kanika was also tested.
She had a belly full of ears.
That's
can only listen.
You really don't have room for. You have room for the soup, but not the spring rolls when you're full of ears.
Yeah. When you eat an ear, the ears are filling.
They are. They're very filling. Kanika or Kanika, one or the other, was also tested for drugs, but the result was negative. Oh no! If you're eating ear, my friend, you are sober as F.
Well, you're drunk. Just drunk.
Yeah, just drunk. Yeah, I mean, you're hungry.
Yeah.
The 55-year-old male victim, it was Charen, Charoen. He must be Dutch.
Sharon. Yeah,
Sharon. Surname reserved, it says here. Evidently embarrassed that he's missing an ear.
He's like, yeah, you use my first name, but that's it.
Yeah, we don't need to get into last names here.
And then I need to be blurred out because I don't want people to know who I am.
Yeah, I mean, they'll just call me Lefty from now on.
Does he have to follow her around with a bag then? Like if a dog eats something, you have to follow the dog around with a bag till it shits it out. So you have to follow her around with a bag till she shits his ear out.
He's underneath her going, "Can I get my ear back, please?" Maybe, I don't know. Insisted they didn't know each other. Oh, sure, right.
Yeah, sure.
He said he had just arrived in Pattaya that day and was traveling on a Songthaew, which is a red pickup truck converted into a taxi bus, heading towards Pattaya Walking Street. Sharon said Kanika was on the back of a motorbike with her female friend. While both vehicles waited for the traffic light to change, Kanika suddenly got off her motorcycle and ran up to the red truck where he was sitting. Oh, and that'll work up an appetite, boy, I'll tell you.
Yeah. When she said, "Hey, pull over, I'm hungry."
Yep. Sharon said Kanika sat on his lap and started caressing his body. She was just feeling the merchandise to see if it was tender.
Yeah. Wanted to see how if he was tender, if he was fat, if he was lean, like what kind of meat she working with.
Exactly. He moved away from her, so Kanika stopped and went back to her motorbike. Sharon said Kanika was angry at him. Oh, that's when you need to run. So she went back to him again, punched him in the face, and bit his ear until the earlobe was torn at the intersection of the Second Road, South Pattaya in Banglamung District.
That's a great district.
The fact that they know exactly where the ear was torn off, that's quality detective work, my friend.
That is.
You don't see that kind of stuff in the States.
No, you don't. We don't also see a lot of people biting ears off in the States.
Oh, that's true, too. Police officers tried to arrest Kanika, but it proved difficult as she fought back and resisted. I don't know if I'm the cops that I want to fight her.
No.
No.
She just ate a man's ear. What else is she going to eat?
Well, she accidentally falls to her knees. You're done.
Did they have a sign up at the jail that says keep fingers away from cell?
I think so, yes.
Like at the zoo?
Yep. Police officers tried to arrest Kanika, but it proved difficult as she fought back and resisted. There's a lot of chomping going on. The alleged suspect faces 2 criminal charges according to Thai law. Not Thai law, the man. Thai law, the actual Thai law.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
THAI.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Section 378, public intoxication. Anyone who puts himself in a state of drunkenness by consuming alcohol or other intoxicating substances and becomes troublesome or senseless in a public place shall face a fine of up to 5,000 baht.
Oh, I know what that is.
Do you?
Yeah, because the 90-Day Fiancé.
Do you have any baht around the house?
No, we do not have baht around the house, but I know what it is.
Okay. Well,
because the guy that got married to a girl had to pay 50,000 baht.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder what that translates into for American dollars.
Don't know because he couldn't afford it. He could only give him like 3,000 baht, I think it was, which is like $1,500.
Wow.
American. I think. And again, this was season 5 of 90 Day Fiancé.
Okay. Secondly, she was charged with Section 295. Whoever causes injury to another person, body or mind, shall be punished with imprisonment not exceeding 2 years, a fine not exceeding 4,000 baht, or both. The Thai media reported that Kanika could face more charges or higher charges if a doctor concludes that the victim had to go through treatment for more than 20 days.
She's going to wake up tomorrow with a hangover and go, oh, indigestion. What did I eat last night?
Oh, that is something that Rolaids is not going to get rid of. Yeah, we're going to have to go straight for the Zantac.
They leave that out of the Pepto-Bismol ad, don't they?
Yep. When you've got heartburn, indigestion, someone's ear, and diarrhea. Yeah, that's what that deal is. Part 3 of Hey Ma, look what I've got in my mouth. That doesn't sound right either.
No.
No. A mother's instinct here. A hero mom fights off a tiger with her bare hands for 2 minutes to save her baby after a beast chomped on her little tot's head.
Ooh. Ouch.
Yeah.
Why is the baby by a tiger?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like good parenting, does it?
No, well, you see those videos of like children around like giant snakes and the cobras and all that, and I'm like, why would you put your child there? That's food for the animal.
It is. It's an appetizer.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Here, honey, go play with the tiger while mommy gets your bottle ready. Oh no, the tiger!
Tiger? Why are you doing tiger things? You're supposed to be like a cat.
That's right. You're a kitty, not a tiger. You're just a nice, innocent kitty. Just don't hurt the kid.
I watch Tiger King. You're not supposed to do that.
That's right. You're lovable and huggable, and I'm supposed to be able to train you. We're all.
I want to meet your friend Winnie the Pooh.
Oh God, not in the new movie. You don't.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
I know, right?
I want to see how sadistic Tiger is. They're Tigger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A mom fought off a tiger with her bare hands after the beast sank its jaws into her toddler's head. Dear
Did
God.
she not watch that old? Who were the old magic people that used tigers? And one of them got his face bit off.
Oh, you're talking about Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah. Didn't she learn?
One of them did. It wasn't her. It was. I think both. Not both. Both of them aren't dead now, are they? I think they're both dead.
I know
now.
one of them's for sure dead. Mm-hmm. The one that got his face bit off is dead. Well, not from the tiger. He died of something else.
Right. Yeah. I mean, from complications of injuries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
I think they are both dead.
The way you put that was shocking. Yeah, I think they're both gone now. Brave Arcana Chowdhury, who's 25 years old, and her 15-month-old son were in a field in India when the tiger sprang out of the bushes and attacked them. Surprise! I'm just a little tiger looking for a meal.
Oh, look, baby nugget.
Baby nuggets. Oh, that didn't sound right either. They're in a nice little package.
I ordered a 20-piece. What's this?
Well, it's not quite 20, but you got what you're looking for. The big cat sank its powerful jaws around little Rajveer's head, but his mom leapt into action. She began punching and kicking the tiger, ignoring the mauling she was getting from the animal.
Good for her, though.
All right, Mom.
Yeah.
Way to go.
You hear about moms lifting cars all the time, but how many times do you hear about moms fighting tigers?
Not very often.
This is a first.
Yeah. Despite the tiger's claws puncturing her lungs, she kept fighting for 2 minutes until her screams were heard by villagers. Yeah, it took 2 minutes for the villagers to hear the screams.
That was 2 minutes of them going, you go. No, you go. No, you go.
Yeah, so let's draw straws to see who's going to go fight the tiger, okay?
This is a lot different than when I fight with my cat, Bruiser.
Yeah.
Same claws, but
not as big. Yeah,
no.
Hardly as big.
And he's lazy.
Yeah, probably one swipe, and it's not really at your lungs. It's kind of like at your ankles. It's like
him and Ziggy got into it today. It was pretty interesting. He got her. He got her.
Really?
Yeah. She was like, "Yes, let's play some more." And it's like, "No, go away."
You go home now. Wait, your home is here. Damn it. Her husband, Bola Chowdhury. You ever had a bowl of chowdhury?
I have. Is it is it the New England?
It's not the New England. No, it's not the clam chowdhury. It's the. It's more like a good curry chowdhury.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that I have had.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No.
Her husband, Bola Chowdhury, described what happened during the terrifying attack. Rajveer was sitting and Arcana was standing nearby, he said. Suddenly, a tiger emerged, picked Rajveer, and started walking away. At that point, the husband shit himself and cowered in a corner and wished for God to take him, I guess. What the hell is the husband doing at this point?
He just went, well, there goes my kid.
Well, I can always make another one. I mean, I got plenty of shots left. You know, me and Ma will just have to have a go at it.
No, he went, man, there goes another one.
Another one. Yeah. Boy, these tigers are swift, aren't they? Arcana ran after the tiger for about 5 meters, Mr. Chowdhury said, hitting the tiger with her hands to save her son. The tiger left the child and attacked Arcana. After villagers used sticks to drive off the tiger, it eventually slinked back into the woods. Yeah.
And meanwhile, Bull's going, no, honey, please don't say, oh, honey, no, come on.
You got the kid back, huh? Oh, that was brave. Damn it. Both Arcana and her son were rushed to the hospital where they were being treated for their wounds in the intensive care unit, as well as a punctured lung. She also suffered injuries to her back, hands, and abdomen. A search is underway to find the tiger. Oh, yeah, like the tiger is going to show up and admit everything in order to drive it further back into its natural habitat in the Forest Tiger Reserve. It comes after a man survived a tiger attack by playing dead. That's a different story. It says the video shows a predator leaping from a hedge across a dirt road as terrified villagers run in panic. I
don't want to visit India anymore.
No,
tigers are just running around willy-nilly.
I'm a little less excited to go to India. I'll just put it that way. So, yeah. So, mom and son are alive. They're a little less worse for wear, I guess.
Good for the mother, though.
Yeah,
I give her credit. Yeah. Father's a jackass.
Yeah, father's a jackass. Father's a goddamn coward. But other than that, you know.
Yeah. She needs to remarry.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right there. Choppy. I think we all know what that means. This story comes from Ghana. I question its validity, but we'll read it anyways.
Okay.
Sometimes I get some of the strangest stories, but hey, if it's been reported, it's been reported. Let's give it a whirl, shall we? Man in Ghana accidentally chopped off his own penis while dreaming about slaughtering a goat. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
It gets in the way sometimes. Yeah, I mean, we've all zipped it up at one point in time.
Sometimes it gets in the way.
We've all zipped it up at least once in our lifetime.
It's not an extension cord, Bruiser. It doesn't just sometimes get in the way.
You've never zipped yours up in a zipper?
Well, yeah, but, you know.
It gets in the way.
But I don't take a knife and go, let's whittle it down a little bit so I don't get it in the way next time.
I've never done that, no. The worst I've done a lot of bad things, but putting biofreeze on my body and then forgetting the biofreeze on my hand and going to the bathroom right after.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll wake you up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I didn't chop it off, though. I wanted to.
The funniest thing about this story, they, of course, have to put the banner picture across the article.
Someone chopping up tomatoes.
Well, it's a sausage.
That's a sausage and a tomato. Okay, I just realized that's a sausage.
It's a sausage, and they put a tomato behind it to infer that, it was a big
like
one.
Gotcha.
Like the tomatoes, the testes, and the sausage is just a big one. Yeah. Clever times now. Clever, that's the name of the site. So the man in Ghana chops off the old penis while dreaming about slaughtering a goat. Incident occurs.
That's why you don't name it Billy.
Well, that's true. The incident occurred on August 12th when a farmer identified as Kofi Atta woke up to see his penis chopped off and laid in his chair bleeding after acting out a dream of preparing dinner. Yeah.
He woke up, had to go to the bathroom, got in the bathroom, reached down and went, oh, shit, I forgot something.
It was a clean sweep, Bruiser. He got both the twig and the berries.
Oh, really? He's a eunuch now, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And he's singing soprano.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm just,
How do, come on now. This is why I don't believe this story.
This can't be real.
It can't be real. Because, first of all,
you'd have to go from the bottom up.
And that knife had to be Ginsu quality.
Yeah.
And
why is he sleeping with a knife?
Exactly.
Like, did he sleepwalk into the kitchen to grab a knife?
Right. I don't buy it.
I don't either.
I don't buy
if I'm sleeping and somebody touches it, I wake up.
Right?
Yeah.
First of all, you're like, hey, baby. And then when Mrs. Bruiser goes, what are you dreaming about? You go, nothing.
Killing a goat?
Killing a goat. Yeah, exactly. Killing a goat for dinner. Is it still intact?
I don't believe this story. There's no way.
But
not in one swipe.
But then the second part of this is the victim, who's 42 years old, is in a hospital in the central region of Ghana to get his injuries treated after having cut off a part of his scrotum. They say a part, but come on now. And the first part of this says that he chopped it all off while dreaming about slaughtering the goat while he was half asleep. However, doctors say he needs to undergo surgery, for which he's raising money. Like it's a big old fundraiser, like he's out there selling Girl Scout cookies for it.
So insurance doesn't cover that, huh?
I guess not, no. Slaughter your own goat, pay for it yourself. The Ghanaian farmer recalled he was dreaming about slaughtering a goat to help his wife prepare a meal for the evening. He said, I was sitting in my chair when I dozed off. In my sleep, I dreamt that I was cutting some meat in front of me, Kofi told BBC Pidgin. I don't even think that's a real channel. Welcome to BBC Pidgin. I'm Pigeon number one. Atta then acted out his dream in real life, but has no recollection of how he ended up taking the knife to his own genitals. His neighbors responded to his screaming and found out the quadragenarian. Evidently, that's what you are when you're in your 40s. You're a quadragenarian.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so take that in mind.
I have a question. Where was his wife during all this?
Well, I'm about to tell you.
Because I have a feeling she had something to do with this.
Adwoa Konadu was sitting there laughing, evidently. Atta's wife was traveling at the time and found out about the accident through a neighbor who had contacted her. The neighbor said, you will never believe this, Atta. Oh, my God. Your husband is an idiot. First of all, he's slaying a goat. Second of all, he has his balls and his pecker in his hand. We are laughing and laughing and laughing. She discovered her husband bleeding from his manhood on a chamber pot and holding his cuckoo cock. Well, she when she returned
Why didn't you
home,
put it in ice? You got to put that in ice right away. Come on.
in the middle of Ghana.
That's true.
Well, I suppose they have refrigerators there, but I don't know what his social status is. But the wife then grabbed a diaper to reduce the blood flow.
So not only did he lose his manhood, but he lost his manhood.
Yeah. I don't know that I believe this story.
This can't be true. You'd bleed to death.
You would. You would.
There's major arteries down there.
You're telling me.
There's a main, as when I was a kid, we used to call it the main vein.
Yeah, draining the main vein. Yep.
Yeah.
A story that's a little more believable than, cutting off the cock and balls. Is multiple people injured after an amusement park ride falls 50 feet.
Okay, I can believe that. This is why I question amusement park rides. I don't do carnival rides.
You know?
God, no.
When did you stop doing them? What age?
When I was 16 and realized that it was just some dude that puts it up during the summertime that was about my age.
That's about, I was probably about 18 when I stopped doing it. Yeah, that was about that age.
When I go to carnivals with my kids and stuff, I go, I got more teeth than half these people, and I couldn't put these rides up.
Yeah, when the guy looks at me, he goes, "Yo, have fun now, okay?" And I went, "You don't have an education to."
Sorry, it was a little bumpy. I was hungover when I put it up.
Yeah, we had a rough night last night, and I go, well, "You can't have rough nights." Yeah, that's when I realized I'm not riding these deals. Which should have been a fun time on a ride turned into a nightmare for guests visiting a fairground. We're back in India.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, at least the tiger didn't get them.
Yeah, tigers and amusement parks, evidently, in India are the things you want to stay away from. In a tragic incident, which has now gone viral, a high-rise spinning carnival attraction broke mid-ride and came crashing down in the Dusara ground in Phase 8 in Punjab's Mohali on Sunday. The video shows the ride spinning normally at the very top of the tower, and then all of a sudden the ride starts falling down a full 50 feet until the attraction smacks the ground, after which screams can be heard. At the time of publishing the article, no fatalities were shown. However, there were reportedly 50 guests on the ride, with at least 16 guests left critically injured. Shortly
after, they showed the carnival worker tossing the screw up in the air going, I knew I forgot something.
I knew this had to go somewhere. Shortly after the incident, they're saying at least 16 guests left critically injured. Yikes.
Well,
out of the 50.
Okay.
Shortly after the incident, police rushed to the spot to assess the situation. Some reports stated that the victims received head and neck injuries. I can believe that.
Yeah.
There are, if you look up Nikhil Chowdhury, Nikhil, on Twitter, you'll see actually live video of it.
Another Chowdhury?
Nikhil Chowdhury?
Is he related to the other Chowdhuries that fought the tiger?
I think maybe, yeah. I think maybe they're cousins. Sunny Singh, again with the Sunny names and the spokespeople.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for the official spokesperson?
I'm so ready for this. One
of the organizers said, "We will find out how this happened. It seems there was a technical issue. Earlier, too, we organized several feats, but this has never happened. We will cooperate with the police and administration." It's very, very nice. It's very, well, we look out for the safety of our riders in every way possible, and we look to bring you the best in entertainment, and we hope that everyone leaves with a smile. Unfortunately, on this day, we had a bit of a mishap, but that's not the norm for our company, and we hope that you'll come back and we'll put that smile right back on your face.
And next week, 2-for-1 ride tickets.
That's right. Eyewitnesses also shared information on the incident. Jaspreet Kaur said, "We picked up the injured and rushed to the hospital. There was no ambulance, and even the bouncers of the feet were trying to threaten us. They were trying to threaten us."
What?
Later, the employees of the organizers also fled the scene. Oh, this sounds like an up and up deal. Yeah.
This is total carny, guys. I told you the guy was over on the side going, I knew this went somewhere.
Mohali Deputy Commissioner Amit Talwar said, we will hold an inquiry and strict action will be taken against the guilty. Wow. Yeah, one carnival you don't want to go to in India.
That's why I don't do carny rides.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. I would not do them either. We're getting to the end here of Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. There's only one criminal to blame in this next story, Bruiser. And unfortunately, it is not a human.
No?
No.
Well, lately you've been on a roll with animal crimes. We had the chimpanzee call 911. Yep. We had the ones doing sign language. Okay, okay.
It happened right here in my old hometown of Minneapolis, and it took out power from 10,000 people.
Oh, this animal's going crazy.
This animal is notorious. This animal is nefarious. This animal is nuts. This animal's a squirrel. Turns out that nearly 10,000 Minneapolitans is what we call them, but they're Minneapolis residents, were left in the dark thanks to a pesky squirrel that disrupted power transmission Sunday morning.
Just chewing on a power cord, huh?
Oh, he didn't get to the chewing part.
No?
No. What happened, and this is according to Lacey Nygaard, another spokesperson for energy provider XL Energy, told the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, what happened is that a squirrel came into contact with some of our equipment that caused the outage. That was her nice way of saying.
You can, if you go online, you can watch birds touching wires and exploding.
Well, now we all know how you spend your free time.
But that's what I'm thinking with this chipmonkey or the squirrel. He probably touched.
Don't say
whatever.
chipmunk.
Sorry.
Don't say chipmunk.
I meant his cousin, the squirrel.
Oh. Don't say chipmunk. Oh my God.
I can see the squirrel like touching it and going, exploding.
Squirrel.
Yeah, I said squirrel.
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 Not chipmunk. Dear God.
You're going to go out and count all your chipmunks now, aren't you?
Yes. I'm going to call them all by name. I'm going to line them up and give them extra treats. Make sure they're all accounted for.
Not cooked.
No, not cooked. Oh my God. It's horrible.
Okay, squirrel.
Squirrel. The morning blackout lasted just under an hour before crews restored the bulk of the power, according to XL Energy. There's no word on the squirrel's condition. I could tell you what it is. It's extra crispy.
Someone's eating good tonight.
Well, it's probably a bird, but I'm just saying. I mean, there's not a lot of, Have you ever had squirrel, by the way?
Yes, I have. It's very good.
I had I made a joke on the air years and years ago in Independence, Wisconsin, and I said that they used to feed the Independence football team deep fried squirrel, rusty nails, and battery acid, and that's how they were undefeated.
Okay.
For the season. So I got invited to lunch at Independence High School.
They had squirrel? Yeah,
they fed me deep fried squirrel, rusty nails, and battery acid.
You survived, huh?
I did. The rusty nails were actual rusty nails. The squirrel was actually squirrel. It was actually deep fried squirrel. They wanted me to try it.
It's delicious.
And the battery acid was just gravy.
Oh, nice.
For the squirrel.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. It was a little mealy. I
enjoy it.
It was okay. That was as backwoods as it gets for me. Yeah. But I tried squirrel. I'll admit, I tried it. The American Public Power Association has said squirrels and other animals are the most frequent cause of outages nationwide, according to a Washington Post analysis. The problem is particularly pronounced where overheat transmission lines run among the trees squirrels call home. The rodents will often inadvertently cause a short and electrocute themselves while using the lines to travel from tree to tree. even New York City, largely devoid of the overhead power lines where squirrels like to scamper, is not immune. Back in 2012, imagine this, if you will, a gang of street-smart Queens squirrels terrorized the Glen Oaks Village Co-op, cutting off power and causing a car to catch fire.
And the whole time they were singing West Side Story songs.
That's right. When you're a jet forever, man. Those sons of bitches. The squirrels in this neighborhood are the most arrogant, a resident told the Post at the time.
Those arrogant pieces of shit.
They look at you like, what are you going to do about it, eh? That was the quote to the Post at the time about that rogue squirrel gang that was going through knocking out people's power. I'm telling you, man.
You want to step up, huh? You want to step up? Come step up.
You want a piece of me? You want a piece of me, Mr. Squirrely, eh? I'll tell you what you can do with that, huh?
Hey, you see Jimmy over there? Yeah, he was an extra in Sopranos. You want some of this, huh?
I'll tell you what you can do with that, Mr. Squirrel. I'll have you baked, fried, and on my plate in no time, huh? I'll show you how we do it over here in Brooklyn. Our next story, and we're getting down to the end. We got just 3 stories left here on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. I know, it just doesn't end, does it, people? The entertainment is endless here on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. A dead Oklahoma inmate was suing over baby shark doo 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 doo, baby shark doo 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 doo, baby shark doo 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 doo, baby shark. How can you sue over that? It's such a great song.
It's amazing, and it's like it's the perfect earworm. It gets in your head, and you're just happy. And then the thing about that song too, if you do that in public, other people will join in.
It's like It's a Small World. Those are the 2 songs you can sing in public, and people will honestly, they'll hate you forever, but they'll join in.
Well, yep. Yeah, because it gets stuck in your head.
Yep.
Baby shark,
baby shark. Okay, let's get on with the story. We go to Oklahoma City, where an Oklahoma City inmate found dead in his jail cell over the weekend was a plaintiff in a lawsuit against the county, alleging that in 2019, he and other inmates were tortured by jail employees who forced them to repeatedly listen to the children's song Baby Shark for hours.
It wasn't torture. It was a #1 hit.
That's
right.
They
were just trying to keep them up to date.
That's right.
Some of you guys are going to get out sometime, and you're going to know this song.
Torture is teaching them the dance along with the song.
Yeah.
That's torture.
Oh, yeah. I knew all that. My wife and daughters were way into that song.
Did you know the dance?
Yeah, with the whole this and this. And, yeah, I got it all.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah. I told you, man.
Huh.
It was so popular, we even made a parody in Ring of Honor for our ring announcer, Bobby Cruz.
Wow, look at you.
Which you can find online. It is a 20-minute song.
Was that a Bobby Cruz?
No, it's Bobby Cruz, do
Bobby Cruz, do Bobby Cruz, do Bobby Cruz.
Bobby.
I love it.
Yep, and the guy who made it, Pants, the referee, looped it. So if you watch it on YouTube, it's 20 minutes long.
Oh my God. Okay, that's a little ridiculous, but it's fun. It's all in good fun. 48-year-old John Basco, was found unresponsive in his cell early on Sunday morning, evidently with a shark shoved up his ass. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
A baby shark.
A baby shark. Oklahoma County Detention Center officials said in a news release he was pronounced dead after jail workers began life-saving efforts. They said Basco's death is the 14th this year at the jail, which has faced criticism over inmate deaths, escapes, and other incidents. Jail spokesman Mark Opgrande said there was no obvious signs of foul play except for shark bites on his ass. And
he also said they are the cleanest and healthiest prison around, and that all their inmates are very well taken care of.
That's right.
And they'd like to see you next weekend.
And they get 3 healthy meals a day and plenty of yard time in order to get exercise. And that investigators will look into the possibility of a drug overdose. Maybe he was snorting baby shark teeth, baby shark teeth, baby
shark
teeth.
cartilage is really good for arthritis.
It is. It's very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I used to take that.
Yeah. The state medical examiner's office will determine the cause of death in this case. Basco, who was booked into the jail Thursday on this is the old story where they were giving you the update as to how he got booked in. I don't know that you want to hear about how exactly he was.
Have you ever
brought in
eaten
and
shark?
No?
I have.
Oh, you have. You have eaten shark.
Yeah. Have you?
I had a little taste once. A little
My daughter-
taste. A little taste.
My youngest daughter is absolutely in love with sharks.
Yeah.
To the point where I thought she was going to go to college to be a shark biologist.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, she went to be the special effects makeup. But when I ordered the shark we went to the Wisconsin State Fair and I ordered shark, I thought she was going to slap it out of my hand. I thought she was just going to start yelling. Oh, yeah. She thinks they are the most precious animals on this planet.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Huh.
Shark Week is a holiday here.
Well, it is in a lot of homes, but yeah, I find that,
Yeah.
wow. Huh.
Yeah, she will randomly text me pictures of sharks smiling.
That's because they're about to kill.
Yeah, no, I know. Trust me. Yeah, she wants to do the whole thing, the underwater and the plexiglass and all that, and yeah, she loves sharks.
Interesting.
Yep. So that's why that Baby Shark song was so big in the house.
I bet. Yeah. I got to get away from this, or I'm going to be singing it all night. Our niece.
Intern Yoko's gonna be so mad at you.
Oh, she is. Our niece was so into that song for so long. We got her when we were doing the Jericho cruise and we were down in the Bahamas. We found a baby shark. It was like a long shirt, but it had ruffles on it. You know.
Yeah.
And she wore that thing out to rags. Yeah, poor Bella. She was like, "Can you get another one, please? I've outgrown it. I want another one." And we're like, when are we going to get back to the Bahamas to find another? And it was just like a cheap knockoff Baby Shark shirt, but she loved that thing to bits, literally
Our
to bits.
youngest has a stuffed shark that we got from an aquarium that she took at college with her. Mrs. Bruiser, in fact, found shark Crocs. They're Crocs that are shaped like sharks, and we sent them out without telling her. Just
wow.
Here you go. It was before her birthday. I thought we should have waited until her birthday, but we couldn't because we knew she'd be so excited.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, maybe my youngest should get together with your niece, and they can just have a shark party.
That's right. A shark off. I know that has a totally different meaning in jail, I know. But you know, I mean, it's innocent enough when you're not behind bars. All right, these last two stories, not safe for work. Not like anything we've been doing today has been safe for work, but these two especially not safe for work.
Put the kids to bed, headphones on.
That's right. These stories are not what you would call very safe for work, especially the last one. The last one's going to curl your hair and make you never want to eat at a certain chain ever again.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Probably a chain I visit regularly.
It probably is. I'm sorry, Bruiser. It's probably, it is one that's prominent in the South. I'll give you that one, too.
I think I know which one you're going to say.
Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. Here's the thing. Chicken wings are some of the most beloved food on the planet. It's God's little treat to us all.
Oh, I love them.
It's one of the appetizers that you just can't live without, right?
No, they can be an appetizer or a meal. They're fantastic.
That's right. You can eat them for a meal. You can eat them as an appetizer. They're God's perfect little food. But there's just one problem, and that problem is this: they're very easily abused. That's just one way.
Abused how?
Well, people can use it for unlawful gains. They can use it to abuse other people with. They can use it to hold power over other people, and they can use it as an excuse to get their way.
Oh, okay.
I know this sounds very vague, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mean for it to sound so vague. I mean, but it is what it is. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to try and get the audio up for this particular story because I find this note on this one story kind of funny. And I kind of want to hear the audio version of it rather than read it to you, because there is a questionable word that I shouldn't be saying on the note. But here's the deal. I've had bad experiences with DoorDash. I just had 2 bad experiences last night alone with DoorDash. You know, it's a Sunday night. I'm sitting and watching Tampa Bay and Dallas play, which, by the way, not the best performance out of both teams.
No.
It was horrid. Just to.
We had problems with DoorDash too the other day. So.
Did you?
Right there with you, yeah.
So I order with like 20 minutes to go on one restaurant. I won't say which one it is. And believe it or not, it was chicken. I was trying to have a Sunday chicken dinner, right? Just wanted chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, that's what I tried to get yesterday and I couldn't.
Yeah. Right? And so I order from this restaurant with 20 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And I waited an hour and 20 minutes and they canceled the order.
Oh, that's the worst.
Right? So I still have a little bit of time, just a little bit of time, not much, but a little bit of time. So I say, you know what? I'm going to try another restaurant, right? Well, it happens to be a well-known pub-like restaurant.
Okay.
We'll put it that way, that specializes in wings. Okay. And I order a naked tender type meal, and I order 5 of them, right?
Okay.
And tater tots with queso on top.
Okay.
And a fountain drink. I mean, pretty simple, right? Pretty simple stuff.
Yeah.
When it gets to my door, these tenders, Bruiser, are not tenders. They're like chicken chips. They're like if you took and made them a potato chip.
Right.
They're that thin and that small.
Yeah.
And then there's only 4 of them, not 5. And then it wasn't a fountain drink. It was a bottle of soda. Kind of like they weren't even half paying attention to the order. They just threw everything at me and then just threw it on my doorstep.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like, we don't really care, but here you go. And it was almost unappetizing. It was like 4 little tiny hockey pucks for a tiny hockey set.
Oh.
And I was like, what am I looking at here? What is this I'm getting? Yeah. So I complained on both places.
Right.
Because it really wasn't appetizing at one, and I didn't get the order on the other.
Yeah. So you were not satisfied at all?
No.
Ugh.
So this story that I have in front of me here has to do with a man who ordered chicken wings, and he got bones and a note instead.
Bones and a note?
Yes.
Someone got hungry.
Exactly. Damian Sanders' food delivery contained a note and some bones. The note was written by the delivery boy. The delivery boy stated that he was hungry and had no money. Now, netizens asked Sanders to forgive the boy for eating his food. Some users made fun of Sanders. The video of the package is posted from Instagram. Food delivery services have made life too convenient, it seems. But, however, once in a while, we hear about bizarre food delivery stories. One man took to social media to share such an incident recently. Instead of the food he ordered, he got a sad note and some bones. Damian Sanders placed an order for chicken wings, some fries, and a drink. So when his food arrived, he was excited. However, the excitement level dropped very soon. In a clip posted to Instagram, the man is seen showing his followers the things he received in his food package. The fries packet was empty, and a pack of chicken wings had only bones left in it. It was accompanied by a sad note. Now, I'm going to play...
The delivery driver knows he'll probably get tipped and then have cash and go get food, right?
Well, that's the thing. You know, you're expecting you're going to get, you're going to get something, right?
Yeah.
But is it enough for him to go out and get a meal? You may ask yourself that. Now, I do tend to tip pretty well when I get those services, because I know that, people are schlepping pretty hard for $1, and, inflation is at an all-time high lately, and gas is pretty bad too. And I got to imagine these people are spending a lot on gas.
Yeah.
So I tend to, and I don't order very often from these places. Right. So when I do, I tend to splurge and tip very, very well.
Right.
Let's play this clip now. And see what this says. Here we go.
I cannot make this up. Here I am ordering some Wingstop. In my bag, I get this. Now, I know you noticed the fries gone. My drink to the top and everything intact. But again, my fries gone and a damn note in it. Open up the wings. The wings is damn 8, y'all. The damn note reads, I'm sorry I ate your food. I'm broke and hungry. Consider it like you're paying it forward. I'm quitting this lame ass job anyway. Be blessed. Your DoorDash guy. What am I supposed to do with this, y'all? I'm about to call some damn DoorDash back. It ain't even What do I do? It ain't Wingstop fault. What do I do? I'm hungry as hell. I know I'm about to get my damn money back though. This is fucking crazy.
I'm about to quit this job. God bless.
God bless. God bless. Because, you know. What?
I'm about to quit this job.
Because technically that's theft.
That is theft.
Yeah. Since posting, the clip has amassed a lot of attention. It was viewed more than 2,000 times on Instagram. Users also flooded the post with comments. While some cracked jokes, others asked Sanders to forgive the delivery boy. It's okay, forgive him, wrote one. Well, that's easy for you to say. Maybe
it's not your money and you're not hungry.
Exactly, right. Another stated, dude writes the way you talk. Either fake or you can't blame him for being your alter ego, LOL. That's not very nice at all.
That's why you turn off the comment section.
You're right, exactly. It just says, would you be okay with another person having your food and leaving you starving? No, I wouldn't be, because that's a business transaction.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, and especially on DoorDash, you tip before you get your food.
Right. You're paying in good faith.
Yeah, and then you can tip them cash, but they ask to add the tip beforehand. So the driver's already getting money from that.
Yep. They are. In fact, they're already knowing what they're getting.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, they technically can play down to the amount that they're being paid.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times.
And they don't have to take all the order. You can pick and choose what you choose, like deliver.
Right. Right.
that guy just waited to see what he was hungry for.
Yeah, exactly.
I can go for some chicken wings.
Right. It was just, that's just low class. And who says this guy isn't doing that to every order he's picking up that night?
Exactly. How do you know he's not feeding his family that way?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just low class. It's not very nice at all.
Hopefully the guy got a replacement and DoorDash gave him some credit. Not that he's going to use DoorDash ever again.
Well, see, here's the thing. Okay, so last night they sat on my order for an hour and 20 minutes and they refunded my money, but I got nothing more than that.
Right.
For being inconvenienced for an hour and 20 minutes, I got nothing but, okay, here's your money.
Yeah, but if you throw a fit, like Mrs. Bruiser, she'll take him to task. Like the one that we had was really screwed up, where to the point where they called her, physically called her.
Yeah.
And it was a Middle Eastern man speaking, and he goes, "Hi, this is Mark," and she goes, "Look, you don't need to throw all the stuff at me. Just fix it. Give me what a refund, and then I want a credit on her thing." And he's trying to do the whole normal BS. And she's just like, "No, look, this is the only way you can solve this. Is this way." And then their website crashed.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It always seems that way. To me, is it worth my time to haggle for a couple of bucks? That's the way I look at it. You know,
she takes it as a mission.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, is it worth it for me to get my blood pressure up? Is it worth it for me to ruin my evening? Is it worth it for me for a couple of bucks? You know,
yeah. I'm the same way. Because we used DoorDash a lot when we were locked down in the pandemic.
Yes, yeah, as did we. Yeah.
And then when we did the wrestling and we were in the bubble,
it
was all DoorDash, and 9 out of 10 orders were correct, but they always had that one.
Yep.
And I was kind of like you. Do I complain? What do I do here?
Yeah.
They're obviously busy because there's a whole roster of guys in this hotel.
Yep.
And we're all ordering.
Yep.
But then the flip side,
Yep.
how hard is it to
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I'm a little of you, I'm a little of Mrs. Bruiser. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I see both sides. What happened to this guy that was completely wrong, and this guy should take DoorDash to task. They should find out who that driver is, and he should be brought up on charges or something.
Something. I mean, even if they rerun the order and send it out to them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, that's the least they can do.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the least that can be done.
Because you heard him, he's hungry.
Yeah.
What's he supposed to do?
All he wants is what he paid for, which is you know, the very least that they can do is just get you what you paid for.
Yeah. Like when you wait an hour and 20 minutes, they should have just assumed you still wanted your food.
Right.
And got you. Now, did they cancel it or did the restaurant cancel it?
The way it was stated in the both the text and online on the site, they canceled it.
Okay. See, I've had times where restaurants canceled it because they're too busy at the restaurant, so they stopped taking the DoorDash orders. And DoorDash has said, "Oh, the restaurant canceled it. You know, we'll do another order for you."
It wasn't clear. They didn't say that. They didn't say the restaurant was closed. They didn't say the restaurant refused the order.
Yeah.
Because it was too close to the deadline. They didn't say anything. They just said,
which I think restaurants should let you know right away.
Yes. Yeah.
That you know, so that doesn't happen to you. You know what I mean?
Well, what was weird about it was they had accepted the order. They had taken the money.
Exactly. They shouldn't have done that if they knew they're close to the time.
And they're preparing the order, which to me means you've accepted my business.
Exactly.
So I'm expecting a meal to be made and be delivered to me. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, nope.
That's like going into a restaurant 5 minutes before they're supposed to close, sitting down and getting service. Like you're there before they close. You're supposed to get service. I would never do that because that's just mean to the kitchen staff and the wait staff and stuff. But they still have to serve you.
If they choose. I mean, if you walked in 5 minutes before and they said, "Oh, you know what, folks,
But if they seat you.
Yeah, if they seat you, then yeah.
And that's kind of like what it is with DoorDash. If they take your money, you're seated. That's the way I view it, is you're seated now.
Right.
You're just waiting for your food.
Right. Exactly.
So if they don't want to serve you, they shouldn't have taken your money.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
But again, this guy was totally screwed out of his order.
Yeah. And when you see the actual video and you see there were bones in a boat in this bag, I mean, it's just it's so inflammatory. It's so disgusting. You know,
I've had DoorDash drivers reach out and say, "Hey, can you tip me in cash? I'm running low on gas."
Really?
And I've had a couple DoorDash drivers do that to me.
Really?
Yeah, and I've always, well, no, I'm sorry, I tipped you on the app. You know, I don't know if they're trying to double dip. I don't know what's going on there.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
I've never. The only time I've ever handed cash to a DoorDash driver is when now they take and they'll make 2 trips for you to 2 different locations.
Yep.
I've had them go from a restaurant and I had them stop at like a Walgreens or a Quick Trip for me.
Yeah.
To pick something up additional.
Quick Trip.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry, buddy. But when they
said the magic words,
when they stop at that place to pick me up something additional, and they don't have the item I'm looking for, and they substitute for me, they'll give me the option. They'll say, "Well, I can substitute, but it's going to be like $1.23 more. Can I get it in cash from you rather than cancel out the entire order altogether? Because that's what I'll have to do if it's more."
Right.
Because they have these cards on them.
Right.
In order to upgrade. So I'll say, yeah, I'll give you the cash when you get here. I've only done that once or twice.
Yeah. That's understandable.
But it's the exact amount. Or I'll give them like $2 extra. If it's $1.23, I'll give them $2 extra.
Yeah.
And we'll make it good. So that's not a big deal.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a big deal at all. So yeah, I'm not, that, or if I'm really grateful for it, if it's a $1.23 charge, I'll give them $3 or something like that. Tell them to keep the extra for making the extra effort. So
exactly, yeah. But they're making extra effort, so
yeah, exactly. So I'm not worried about that. So let's get this last story out of the way, and we'll leave people for today. I don't go into this last story lightly. This as well has to do with chicken. Chicken of a different flavor.
I'm so scared that you're going to say the restaurant. I think it is.
Which one do you think it is?
Bojangles?
No.
Okay.
No. Has to do with
Southern, so.
It has to do with Hooters.
Hooters? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Which, yeah, I guess it is a Southern restaurant. I mean, it's everywhere, but it originated in Florida, so.
Yes, it did. And it's mainly a Southern chain. I mean, we have one here in Minneapolis. It's in, we used to have a whole bunch of them, but they closed up one by one. I think we might have more than one. We might have two or three. But the main one's in the Mall of America.
Yeah, they had one in Wisconsin by where we used to live, but that closed down. But now we have one about 20 minutes from here.
Yeah. Yep.
Which I'll eat it if I have to. Mrs. Bruiser likes their sandwiches or their stuff that they have there. So
I like the mild sauce.
I like them plain.
Yeah.
With sauce on the side. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're decent. They're
they're a little expensive.
They are expensive. Yeah.
But you're paying for the experience with the girls.
Paying for the experience.
In fact, we can use Bobby Cruise's. So Bobby Cruise, the ring announcer, any Hooters you go into, he knows the perfect table to sit at to see every single waitress there.
Really?
It's creepy. Oh, yeah.
It's creepy. Oh, yeah. Well, if we only had Bobby Cruise on this occasion. Okay. That's a perfect lead. And boy, you are on today, my friend. You are on today. The only way to put this is we go to Houston, Texas. There's a 24-year-old woman by the name of Jessica Sinclair who's come up with her own special recipe for Hooters wings. Okay. And it has to do with whether you've been naughty or nice. To Jessica.
You don't mess with your server, you don't mess with the cook. I learned that right away.
That's right. And she's taken this literally to task.
What's she doing?
Well, Jessica was taken into police custody after she was witnessed by coworkers dipping hot wings into her vagina before serving them to customers.
That had to burn.
You would think. Yeah. From what authorities have reported, Jessica would dip wings into the old vajayjay while on and off her period.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yuck.
Yep. Special recipe, Bruiser. Special recipe.
Little extra sauce in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not ketchup.
Nope. This was done to customers whom had been rude and or made off remarks about her appearance.
Ugh.
Be careful how you treat Jessica, because Jessica will treat you to a special treat.
And make sure, if you are going to treat Jessica wrong, just make sure it's not that time of month.
That's right. Why she would do this while on her period is anyone's guess. I got a couple of guesses.
I know why. I got a few.
Yep. Here's the kicker. The introduction of blood to this crime heightens the consequences of her actions.
Right, because it's a biohazard.
That's right. Tampering with food along with the addition of human blood is a criminal offense with special circumstances. It carries a sentence of up to 20 years in prison.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet you old Jess wasn't thinking of that.
No.
The lesser charges of inserting the wings into her vagina while not menstruating can carry a prison term of up to 10 years.
Still got bodily fluid, though.
That's right. Family members of the perpetrator claim that while she has the appearance of a well put together young woman, she actually suffers from multiple personality disorder and has a long history of incidents that end in either a stay in jail or a mental hospital on a 3-day hold. Had Hooters conducted a background check, this whole incident would have been avoided.
So she's going to prison.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. Jessica. Yeah. Sweetie, you can't do that.
you can't be sticking that in your vajayjay.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, ma'am. I didn't ask for these to be rare and still bloody.
There are different comments, of course.
I believe that.
In the comments section. I don't believe I have my rim shots up here. I don't think I do. I think I just have the...
Jessica's got them.
see what you did there. She's got the rim shots.
Yeah. 2 for 2. Look at that.
Braff Zachlin says, heard they are rebranding, now Cooters. Yeah, it's there are other ones in here, but I mean you get the idea.
Her favorite Dukes of Hazzard character was Cooter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it made the wings spicier because it was hot wings.
I don't know how. There's so many questions here.
Many. We don't have time to cover all these questions.
Much like last week when you had so many questions.
Yes.
I have so many questions here. I'm not a clueless man at all.
Right.
If the wing comes to first of all, is it one wing? Is it many wings that are treated? When they come out to the table and they look different from everybody else's wings, do you not notice it has an irony taste to it? That it has different consistency to the sauce?
We should do it one at a time. Should do it multiple.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. I mean, there's got to be there's just
There's so many questions.
There's so many questions.
You just want to sit down with her and ask her questions, don't you?
I do. Like, how did you think you were going to get away with it?
Well, you know where she'll be for the next 20 years.
I guess she'll be in one spot. Huh. Well, that doesn't...
She got fired, though, at least, right? Unlike the public official. Or she's still getting paid the $2.33 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, she got fired, yeah. It's not an elected position over there at Hooters.
No?
No, it's not like they run you through a contest to get your position over there at Hooters, and then you have to be beaten by somebody else in order to get your position. God. Oh, what an episode. By the way, folks, if you want to hear past episodes or past archives of True Crime Tuesday, you can do that now. There is a brand new website up, officialtruecrimetuesday.com. officialtruecrimetuesday.com. It has all of the archives from, I believe it was 2015 or 16 forward to just a few months ago. Those now live. It was the end of the Stitcher era, pretty much, up until, I believe, the end of 2021. So about 5 to 6 years of archives of True Crime Tuesday are now live on officialtruecrimetuesday.com. So if you want to access those archives, they're available there. You can play them right off the website. They will also be available in just about maybe 3 to 5 days' time on the Apple app, which is the Apple Darkness Radio app, or the iOS version of the Darkness Radio app, under the True Crime Tuesday button. So you'll be able to scroll up and down and play the archives there. So look for that to be coming out. There's going to be a brand new update of the Darkness Radio iOS app, and that will be coming in just a few days. So look for that as well. And that app has had a complete overhaul, and that will be that update. Look for it, because it will focus squarely on this show again, True Crime Tuesday and Darkness Radio. And it'll be exciting. There's some new changes to the app, so you'll love it. It'll be some good stuff. So look for that. officialtruecrimetuesday.com and darknessradioshow.com. Check out those two websites. Let us know what you think of the two websites, because there's all kinds of goodies there on those websites. One of the things that's on those websites is the events page, which also says where Beer City Bruiser and myself are going to be. Bruiser, do you have any events to throw up there? I know you've got an event coming up on the 24th, right?
Yep, the 24th in Gastonia, Hickory, North Carolina. And then I just booked one today, actually, and the 25th in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Well, there you go.
And then I'm off this weekend, and then October starts, and really close to home in October. I'm at Gastonia, which is like a 20-minute drive from the house.
There you go.
At a minor league, or not minor league, but a baseball league.
Baseball
team, yeah.
Okay.
So very excited.
You can check darknessradioshow.com in the events page, and those will be listed there. Also listed on Bruiser's social media sites, which are listed as well on the Darkness Radio app, or listed on the Apple app, by the way, or on the iOS app, or listed on darknessradioshow.com. So yeah, we're getting our stuff together. We're getting our poop in a group. Finally.
We're getting it all situated.
That's right. We're getting it all situated. So that's what's going on there. I want to thank our guest for today. And by the way, folks, a fascinating conversation and a fascinating time with our guest today. Talking undercover in drug enforcement. Our guest was John Madinger. And the name of the book, Going Under, Kidnapping, Murder, and a Life Undercover. The link is in the description of this program. And I encourage you to go out and get that book, and also check out his website, see what his other books are there. John, again, a fascinating guest, and we had a fascinating conversation with him. Those other books that are out there are amazing as well. And he's working on a book right now with the guy who actually invented fentanyl. And he was telling me off air some of the chilling things that this guy said about fentanyl and his invention of fentanyl. Basically just has a devil may care attitude about who he kills with fentanyl. He just doesn't care. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to that book. I think is coming out the beginning of 2023, the first quarter of 2023. So looking forward to having John back on for that show as well. Folks, tomorrow on Darkness Radio, supernatural news. So we'll have Bruiser back. We'll be talking supernatural news. Got some really, really strange and some funny stories there as well. And then Thursday, we've got MJ Dixon on, psychic, TV personality, and all around great gal. She was at Michigan Paracon with us. And we're going to get into royal hauntings. And hauntings of the British Empire. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I know the automatic thing that you may want to shoehorn in here is the death of the Queen. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the death of the Queen, although we will talk a little bit about the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II and talk a little bit about what the expectations are for King Charles III. But we'll move past that after that and talk about exactly what there is in the different state houses in Britain, as far as the royal houses in Britain and the different hauntings that exist there. And we'll also talk about, MJ Dixon also is the one who's behind the different Sage Paranormal and conventions that are both not only overseas in England, but here in the States as well. There's a Sage Paranormal Con coming up in Virginia in October. So we'll talk a little bit about that Paranormal Con that's coming up as well. So lots of stuff going on Thursday with MJ Dixon.
It's cool. It's close to me.
There you go. See, that's close to Bruiser. So there you go. There's lots of stuff going on this week still for Darkness Radio and for True Crime Tuesday. So for Beer City Bruiser, I'm Tim Dennis. Join us tomorrow for Supernatural News on Darkness Radio. And thank you so much for joining us here today for the best in true crime podcasting. This has been True Crime Tuesday.